Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's joining us from Facebook, live from YouTube. Welcome to GDG CLOUD Islamabad DevFest 2020. This is a moment that you all have been waiting for, and DevFest is all about the latest in Google technologies, the latest in Google trends, and to give you an edge over other people in the tech landscape. We have an amazing session lined up for you on these 2 days. Today, we will be delving over all sorts of topics, including self promotion, making your LinkedIn and CV profile that much better, and harassment in the workplace, as well as cyber harassment. So, well, this year we're DevFest, as you can see, is completely virtual, and I'm here in the comfort of my home. And so, everyone who's in the comments, I just want to know how's 2020 been for you? I know that it's been a tough year for a lot of people, but here we are. We're going to make it that much better for you, and we're going to bring you the latest that is in technology and innovation and diversity and make this, well, an amazing event for all of you. So, in a few minutes, we will be having our first session with our GDG Cloud Manager or Women Tech Maker Ambassador, the one, the only Irum Zahra. She is currently a data scientist at The Entertainer, and she has been working in the industry for about 4 years in various fields such as artificial intelligence and data sciences. She loves to work on initiatives that allow her to empower and inspire others. And right now, as she is currently the manager of GDG Cloud Islamabad, which strives to organize events like this that bring the latest in technology for all of you. And now, currently, she is also a silver tier I am remarkable facilitator, which means she is in the top 200 out of 5,000 plus facilitators globally. She believes in advocating for true gender diversity, equity, and inclusion. Technical enthusiasm aside, she's very passionate and she's really eager also about adventuring and traveling the world, as I know that many of you must be. So she always tries to get acquainted with different cultures in different areas of the world, and now she's also a level 8 Google Local Guide. In case some of you don't know, Google Local Guides is a feature on Google Maps which you can use, and you gain levels on it when you submit pictures and other information and reviews about places that you've been to. So I would also like to know if any of other you people are Google Local Guides, or you use, or what things related to Google do you use? Every day, I mean, a lot of you must use technologies as simple as the Google Assistant and Android, or even Android TV or Chromecast. I mean, Google technologies are in our world, I mean, everywhere. And today we're going to bring a lot of these for you in DevFest 2020. And I just want to know from all of you, what technologies, all the developers out there, do you use in your daily life? These days, I'm a student, and I'm currently studying at NUST. I'm in my third year, and I think I'm getting really interested in machine learning, data sciences. So, TensorFlow is an open source library that's really great for machine learning. And guess what? We have a session lined up related to TensorFlow for you in these 2 days. And a lot more other technologies. For example, Flutter, the Google Cloud Platform. The Google Cloud Platform obviously helps you achieve scalability no matter how big your enterprise or your startup or your idea is. And so all of these technologies make these opportunities possible, and we are ready to bring it to for you on DevFest 2020.
Go ahead, Dada.
And we have Irum over here. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, Ali? Thank you so much for the introduction.
No problem, no problem. It's an honor to have you here. And, everyone, I think we all can't wait for your session and what
See-
you are going to be bringing to this workshop. So, for everyone that's still here, could you explain a little about what you're going to be going through in this I Am Remarkable session?
Yes, definitely. But first, I need my slides to be displayed on the screen. Slides. My slides.
And there are the slides by the miracle of the people
Okay. So
watching.
can you see? Okay. So can you see my slides now? I'm asking this from the audience. If you can comment in the comment box or something, just give me a signal that you can hear me and you can see my slides as well. So are we good?
I think they're in a little window over there.
Nope. Wait. Let me.
They're not full screen. And yes, some people can, yeah, people can see the slides. We just got 2 yeses and 2 nos. 3 yeses and 2 nos.
यार ये क्यों हो रहा है? No, slides मेरी display नहीं हो रही हैं. Can you see my slides? Full screen नहीं कर सकती ना मैं. आगे? Is it good?
It's not full screen. It's still like small at the side of the window. Why
It's
don't you maximize the
let,
window through
let
the
me
whole?
let me share again. क्यों हो रहा है यार? वो कौन सा? Okay, so I
Okay,
hope now you can see my
now they're
slides.
full screen. Can
Now
we
they're
confirm
full screen?
if they're full screen?
Okay, perfect. So, hello everyone. My name is Irum Zahra and I am remarkable specialist and a data scientist working with the entertainers, and I'm delighted that you have taken the time out of your day to experience the workshop today. Before we go any further, I would like to take you through the ground rules. And the rule number one is put your devices and distractions on one side until we reach the end of the workshop so that you can gain the most out of this workshop. So obviously that means apart from the device you're using to access this workshop, put all of the devices to one side. And the rule number two is what we call the Vegas rule. That means what happens in this session stays in the session because we want to give you a safe space, because this workshop can be potentially sensitive to some participants if they're sharing their past experiences. So for that reason, we ask that you agree to hold psychological safety for yourself and each others so that everyone can remain as comfortable as possible throughout the session. If you are on board with these ground rules, please type thumbs up in the comment box quickly. So, we will, I think, okay. Now I'm moving on towards the introduction and the agenda of this workshop. So we will start this workshop from some introductions, and that's how we will find out a little bit about each other. And then I'll take you through the concepts behind the I Am Remarkable workshop, where we came from, where are we now, and where we are looking to go in the future with this workshop. And then we will look into some research to understand why we feel this initiative is so important. Then there will be some exercises. So before moving on to research, let's do a quick introductions. For introductions, what I would like from you is what is your name, where are you from, and then I would like you to mention a remarkable fact about yourself. So in this context, remarkable means surprising or unusual, something that other people wouldn't necessarily expect from you or about you. I will start with my example. I'm Irum Zahra and I'm from Bakar, but I live in Islamabad. And my remarkable fact is that I started giving home tuitions when I was in my third semester. And from there, I paid all my university expenses or fees on my own. From that day, I have never used my parents' money for anything. Now it is your turn. You have 2 minutes. Please use the comment box to introduce yourself just like I did. Arshan, I will need a go ahead for you. People are typing. 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes. Can you start a counter or something for 2 minutes? Okay. I'll wait for 1 more minute. Okay, so I think 30 more seconds. I would read all the comments, obviously. It's for you people. So, you can get to know each other a little bit. 15 seconds. I think I'll wait for 15 more seconds before moving on to our next slide. Okay. So let me tell you what is I Am Remarkable. I Am Remarkable initiative started back in 2016 by two Google employees, both named Anna and Anna. This initiative started as women only, therefore most of the research in the deck is women related. However, with time, both Annas realized that these issues that we're going to address didn't just relate to women, they relate to those as well from underrepresented groups. So the issues this workshop addresses can affect women, and women can be underrepresented group, but it doesn't have to be a gender specific issue. It can impact any gender, so it is actually something that could impact people based on other ways in which they can be categorized too, whether that be ethnicity, race, religion, or sexuality, or the level of ability or disability, etc. Because those individuals tend to be marginalized in some way and they are not part of the majority in any of their given environments. And if you are marginalized and you are not part of the majority, then you are more likely to experience limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome and less likely to engage in self-promotion. So at that time, the NS decided that they would adapt the workshop content slightly, but more importantly, offer it to anyone who wanted to attend it. So this workshop has two major goals. The initiative aims to empower individuals and especially those from underrepresented groups to develop the confidence and competence to effectively engage in self-promotion. The next goal is to challenge the existing perceptions that surround self-promotion, things like gender modesty norms and unconscious bias, both of which I'll take you I'll talk to you about it in a little bit more details. So let me explain this by giving you an example. So let me share an example. In 2017, it is my example. In 2017, I was invited as a panelist on WTM Women's Day celebrations along with three incredible ladies. One of them was Fatma Mazhar, then launch director at Kareem. Now she is, I think, CEO of Heap Trucking in Pakistan. And we were asked to share our stories. Simple task. It was my first public appearance, and when I got to know about the other panelists, all I wanted was to back out because I was thinking I have not done anything remarkable in my life. I have done nothing worth sharing with the audience, and the other panelists, they were clearly one of the very few women who were literally acing their careers and doing everything great. Okay, so I wanted to quit. Like because after I got to know about the other panelists, I really wanted to quit. I wasn't able. I so wanted to quit that I actually wasn't even able to introduce myself properly on stage. You know what I was ignoring and not acknowledging, that I was the only person responsible on my team for developing AI-based algorithms for security cameras. I forgot that I was doing something very few girls were doing at that time. And that was the reason I was invited as a panelist, but I never acknowledged my accomplishment. Later, after listening the other panelists, I realized all they were talking about was their accomplishments and achievements. I realized that I could also have shared so much, but I didn't because I always thought I would look shoddy or, someone who is just self-obsessed. So I realized, okay, so after that day, I actually realized that I should have talked about how I did and what I did. Because why? Because it's not bragging if it's based on facts. तो अगर आप लोग किसी इस तरह की चीज के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं जो आप लोगों ने अचीव किया है और वो फैक्ट है, वो झूठ नहीं है, तो you should talk about it. उसको जाके हर किसी को बता सकते हैं आप. So if you have worked on a project or if you have achieved a goal or if you have made a difference in some way, why shouldn't you talk about it? It's a fact, right? And the reality is there are benefits to talking openly about your accomplishments. For example, your choice is likely to go on and attain a promotion if you are talking about what you have achieved. अगर आप गौर करें तो आप अपनी डेली लाइफ में बहुत सारी एग्जांपल्स देखेंगे जो लोग अपने आप को सेल्फ प्रमोट करते हैं और जो लोग अपने अचीवमेंट्स के बारे में ओपनली बात करते हैं उनको लोग ज्यादा एक्नॉलेज करते हैं और उनको ज्यादा आगे जाने का मौका मिलता है, राइट? ये बहुत कॉमन ऑब्जर्वेशन है. So you all must have listened to, and let me give an example of, the TED Talks. सबने सुनी होंगी. You all must have listened to some TED Talks. At least एक तो सुनी होगी, right? TED Talks are very popular on a global scale, and lots of people watch or listen to TED Talks on regular basis because we all find these talks very inspirational, right? So what's make them inspirational? हम क्यों जाकर सुनते हैं and then we feel good, or कोई ना कोई उससे मैसेज या कोई ना कोई टेक अवे होता है जो हम लेके आते हैं. So no matter which speaker is speaking, they all follow same format. उनका एक format है जिसके ऊपर हर speaker अपनी talk देता है. They deliver a narrative or story, and that story is being used to convey a message. And if you dig a little deeper, inherent with in that story, speaker is almost always sharing an accomplishment. Either they have written a book or climbed a mountain, or they have overcome some sort of obstacle or difficulty in their life. And that's what makes those talks inspirational, right? Remember, it is no different when you share your accomplishments. Maybe आपको cooking नहीं आती थी and then you learned how to cook, but you can always explain your experience. आप बता सकते हैं यार कितनी मुश्किल से मैंने ये काम किया. क्या अगर आप जॉब कर रहे हैं कहीं पे, आप कहीं पे कोई आपने प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट किया है, वो मुश्किल था, you can always talk about your accomplishments. It's same. वो जो टेड टॉक पे स्पीकर खड़ा होता है वो भी अपनी कोई ना कोई स्टोरी सुना रहा होता है, कोई इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी. वो इंस्पिरेशनल होती इसलिए क्योंकि उन्होंने कुछ ना कुछ अचीव किया होता है. वो छोटा भी हो सकता है, वो बड़ा भी हो सकता है. हर टेड टॉक में हर स्पीकर की यही स्टोरी होती है. So if there is nothing else that you can take away from this workshop today, I hope that you at least take away this, that it is not bragging if it's based on facts. Just remember this. It is also worth remembering that we cannot assume what others do or do not know about us, right? आप ये कभी भी assume नहीं कर सकते कि उसको पता होगा कि मैंने क्या काम किया है या मैंने क्या काम नहीं किया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं कहीं ऑफिस में जॉब करती हूँ और मैं रोज अपने डेली टास्क कंप्लीट करती हूँ, मैं डेडलाइंस मीट करती हूँ. मैं assume नहीं कर सकती कि मेरे बॉस को या मेरे कोलीग्स को ये चीज पता होगी. Accomplishments do not speak for themselves. You need to remember this. Self-promotion is a skill set, and like any other skill set, if you don't have it, you need to actively work on building it so that you can get to where you want to be. So we now live in a global society. Our organizations are becoming global organizations. Dunya choti ho rahi hai, right? It means that we are competing on a global scales in terms of our jobs. Whilst there are many of us who don't actually self-promote, the reality is there are also plenty who do. And I'm sure you all can think of at least one person who has no problem talking about his or her accomplishment. आपके ऑफिस में, फ्रेंड्स में, आपके सर्कल में कोई ना कोई आपको जरूर, अभी भी अगर आप सोचें तो आपके दिमाग में कोई ना कोई ऐसा बंदा आएगा जो हमेशा अपनी अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट्स के बारे में बात करता रहता है, राइट? और अगर आपके दिमाग में कोई ऐसा बंदा आता है, आई मीन लाइक इफ यू कैन रिलेट कि मैं क्या कह रही हूँ, तो यू कैन you can let me know in the comment box. ठीक है, आप कमेंट बॉक्स में मुझे यस और नो करके बताएंगे क्या आपके सर्कल में, वो चाहे आपके फ्रेंड्स हो, आपका ऑफिस हो, आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी में हो, आपके सर्कल में क्या, अगर आप सोचें तो विद इन 30 सेकेंड्स कोई एक ऐसा बंदा आपके माइंड में आता है जो हमेशा अपनी अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट्स के बारे में बात करता रहता है और उसको इस बात से किसी किस्म की कोई शर्म नहीं आती है कि वो हर किसी को बढ़ चढ़ के बता रहा हो, मैंने ये किया है, मैंने वो किया है, मैंने ये प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट किया है, बहुत मुश्किल से किया। एक भी अगर ऐसा बंदा आता है तो आप जस्ट कमेंट बॉक्स में यस टाइप करते हैं। और आपने ये भी नोट किया होगा कि जो लोग हर वक्त अपनी अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट्स के बारे में लोगों को बताते रहते हैं और उनको कभी इस चीज़ पे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती अपने बारे में बात करने पे, अपने अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट्स के बारे में बात करने में, वो हमेशा आगे रहते हैं आपसे, उनके लिए चीज़ें आसान रहती हैं। अगर आप स्टूडेंट्स हैं तो टीचर्स को पता होगा उन बच्चों का, अगर आप ऑफिस में हैं तो बॉस को पता होगा उन लोगों का, अगर आप फ्रेंड्स में हैं तो वो बंदा पॉपुलर होगा आपके फ्रेंड सर्कल के अंदर, आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी में, जो बंदा अपने बारे में हमेशा बात करता है कि उसने क्या किया, right? So those of us who don't naturally have this skill set, right, and don't actively work on building it to level the playing field, there is a very real risk that you will fall behind. And that's why on individual level, I feel this is such an important initiative. I'm talking about this I'm Remarkable initiative. अगर आप लोग अपने बारे में बात नहीं कर सकते, अगर आप शाय फील करते हैं, आप किसी और तरह की आपको यू आर जस्ट नॉट कंफर्टेबल, आप कंफर्टेबल नहीं है अपने बारे में बात करने के बाद, तो ये सेल्फ ब्रांडिंग एक स्किल सेट है जो आप इजीली थोड़ी मेहनत करके एक्वायर कर सकते हैं, और ये बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट स्किल सेट है क्योंकि ये आपको आगे जाके अंदाजा होगा कि जिन लोगों के पास सेल्फ ब्रांडिंग, सेल्फ प्रमोशन का स्किल सेट है, वो हमेशा जल्दी आगे निकल जाते हैं, एंड जिन लोगों के पास नहीं होता उनके लिए प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं। ओके, तो मैंने आपसे स्लाइड्स के स्टार्ट में कुछ चीज़ें बोली थी, मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म्स, बैकलैश इफेक्ट से क्या चीज़ें हैं, ये सब की सब चीज़ें वो चीज़ें हैं जो आपको सेल्फ प्रमोशन से रोकती हैं। दीज आर द रीजंस जिसकी वजह से आप अपने बारे में बात नहीं कर सकते। तो जिसमें से एक आती है मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म्स एंड द बैकलैश इफेक्ट। तो मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म क्या होती है? लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. Academics use the term feminine modesty in fact to refer to social norms that dictate women should behave in a certain way. ये एक modesty norm है, right? Like आपको सोसाइटी किसी एक तरीके से बिहेव करने का बोलती है, लड़कियां ऐसे नहीं करती हैं, लड़कियां ऐसे करती हैं, लड़के ऐसे करते हैं, लड़के ऐसे नहीं करते हैं, right? So this is a norm. When they violate these norms, like women face that academics refer to as a backlash effect. जब आप कोई भी ऐसी norm break करते हैं तो आपको backlash effect face करना पड़ता है, आपको बातें सुननी पड़ती हैं, in simple words. To avoid the backlash, women stop engaging in the counter stereotypical behavior. In other words, they stop self-promoting. And this is not just true for women. अंडर रिप्रेजेंटेड कम्युनिटी से जितने लोग होंगे उनके साथ भी यही होता है, आपके साथ भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, ये मेरे साथ भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। तो मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म कोई भी ऐसी चीज होती है जो आपके बिहेवियर को किसी सर्टेन बाउंड्री के अंदर डिफाइन करती है, ये आप कर सकते हैं या आप नहीं कर सकते, लड़कियां ऐसे कर सकती हैं, लड़के ऐसे कर सकते हैं और ऐसे नहीं कर सकते। एंड व्हेन यू ब्रेक दोज मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म्स, तो आपको बातें सुनने को मिलती हैं जिसको हम बैकलैश इफेक्ट बोलते हैं। ये दोनों ऐसी चीजें हैं जो आपको सेल्फ प्रमोशन से रोकती है। उसके बाद हमने कल्चर कंस्ट्रेंट्स की बात की थी। While modesty norms can prevent individuals from talking about their accomplishments, there are other reasons why people might not feel comfortable self-promoting, जिसमें cultural barriers आते हैं। ठीक है, cultural barriers different तरीकों के हो सकते हैं, उसमें जो modesty norms आती है उसके अलावा किसी culture में कोई चीज़ acceptable है, कोई चीज़ acceptable नहीं है, आपके culture ने एक चीज़ को define कर दिया। तो कल्चरल कंस्ट्रेंट्स जो होते हैं वो एक और चीज़ है जो आपको सेल्फ प्रमोट करने से अपने आप को रोकेगी। मैं आपको ये चीज़ हर चीज़ इसलिए बता रही हूँ ताकि आपको पता हो कि क्या प्रॉब्लम्स है। जब आप अपने बारे में बात नहीं कर सकते, आप ये फील करते हैं कि नहीं यार ये नॉर्मल नहीं है, तो वहां पे आप गलत करते हैं अपने साथ, आप अपने साथ गलत करते हैं। फिर आता है इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम। So cultural and gender modesty norms can deter people from self-promoting even if they are themselves aware of their achievements and have no issues with self-esteem. Imposter syndrome has an even more Pernicious effect. It prevents people from seeing their remarkable attributes and makes them think nothing they do is good enough. ये imposter syndrome है. आपको हमेशा लगता रहेगा, आपको पता है you're doing good, आप अपने जॉब में फिट जा रहे हैं, अगर आप स्टूडेंट हैं तो आपके ग्रेड्स अच्छे होंगे, आप अपनी क्लास में भी फेमस होंगे. Imposter syndrome वो चीज होती है, इस सब चीजों के बावजूद आप कंफर्टेबल नहीं होते, आप कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं होते हैं अपने अचीवमेंट्स के बारे में बात करने के लिए. आप स्टिल आप अपने अंदर कोई भी किसी भी किस्म का रिमार्केबल एट्रीब्यूट नहीं ढूंढ सकते. ये इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम है. आपको कोई तारीफ करता है, यार आप यू डिड ग्रेट, आपने ये चीज बहुत अच्छी की है, एंड यू स्टिल एंड यू वुड फील समवेयर इन योर आपके जो दिमाग है उसके पीछे ये चल रहा होगा, ये मेरे अपने साथ होता रहा है, नहीं यार मुझे तो इतना नहीं आता, शिट आई थिंक ये गलत समझ रहा है, मैं इस काबिल नहीं हूँ. यू नो दैट्स वेरी कॉमन. ये मेरी अपनी एग्जांपल है क्योंकि मुझे एक टाइम पे बहुत ऐसा फील होता था. तो आई एम श्योर आप लोगों के साथ भी कभी ना कभी जिंदगी में ऐसा हुआ होगा. So, unlike gender modesty norms, imposter syndrome can affect literally anyone. ये कोई gender specific issue भी नहीं है. Even people who, by all objective standards, are incredibly successful and accomplished. ये उनके साथ भी हो सकता है, जो successful हैं, accomplished हैं, they are doing great, but still they cannot talk about their accomplishment openly. And then we have race and gender stereotypes. रेस हो, आपकी जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप्स हो, मैं पहले भी डिस्कस कर चुकी हूँ, जो कि आपके मॉडेस्टी नॉर्म्स में भी आती हैं. जो रेस हो या जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप्स हैं, वो भी आपकी कॉम्पिटेंस और आपकी जो एबिलिटी है कुछ करने की या अपने बारे में बोलने की, उसको अफेक्ट करती है. तो ये सब चीजें वो चीजें जो आपने अवॉइड करनी है. Okay, so let's discuss unconscious bias. Most people like to think they are fully in control of their feelings and the way they act towards others, right? Max research है कि 1995 की रिसर्च है, जिसपे से मैंने एक पार्ट सिर्फ ये कॉपी पेस्ट किया जो मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगी. Considerable evidence now supports the view that social behavior often operates in an implicit or unconscious fashion. The identifying feature of implicit cognition is that past experience influences judgment in a fashion not introspectively known by the actor. इसकी एग्जांपल मैं आपको देती हूँ. हमारे कुछ दोस्त होते हैं, वो पठान होंगे, कुछ दोस्त होंगे वो बेबी पंजाबी होंगे, एंड देन हमने हमने वो बना लिया उनके बारे में, अनकॉन्शियसली चीज सोच ली है, अच्छा पठान है तो ये तो बेवकूफों वाली बात करेगा. वाई? और हम चाहें या ना चाहें, ये अनकॉन्शियस बायस है जो हमारे अंदर, हमारे दिमागों के अंदर फीड हो चुका है, हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग में का ये क्योंकि पार्ट रह चुका हुआ है. तो ये चीज जो अनकॉन्शियस बायस होती है, आप जानबूझ के करें या ना करें, बट ये आपके जजमेंट्स को, आपकी डिसीजंस को कहीं ना कहीं इफेक्ट करता है. अनकॉन्शियस बायस, दैट्स व्हाई इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आप इसको कभी आपको समझ नहीं आती है अनकॉन्शियस बायस की, अनलेस आप डिलिबरेटली सोच रहे हो कि किस किस्म के अनकॉन्शियस बायस जो है मेरी लाइफ में है. लेट मी गिव यू अनदर एग्जांपल. लड़कियां तो बुरी ड्राइवर्स होती हैं. वाओ, दैट इज अनदर अनकॉन्शियस बायस. कि तो मैं सड़क पे जा रही होंगी और कोई बंदा गाड़ी गलत चला रहा होगा, आई वुड से बंदी होगी, आंटी चला रही होंगी, राइट? दैट्स अनदर अनकॉन्शियस बायस. देयर आर काउंटलेस अनकॉन्शियस बायस जो हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग का पार्ट रह चुके हैं, और वो अनकॉन्शियस बायस हमारी जजमेंट को, हमारे डिसीजन को इफेक्ट करते हैं. So I'll now quickly move to an individual exercise. इसके अंदर आप लोगों ने अपने बारे में कोई से 2 I am remarkable facts लिखने हैं. You will start with I am remarkable because, and then you will write 2 remarkable facts about yourself in the comment box. And you have 1 minute for this. हम लोगों को देर हो रही है, इसलिए please 1 minute, and then you quickly write about your 2 remarkable facts. I just need 2 remarkable facts from you. Quickly. Are they typing? Okay, so as we are short on time, So ये discussion का part जो है I really wanted to do it on a live session, but you can always answer these questions in the comment box below, and you can let me know how do you feel to write it. I mean, to write your remarkable fact, and what did it feel like to say it out loud, or you can writing it in a public live stream, so people are actually reading it. So do you tend to support others who promote themselves in the workplace? That's an important question, because हम ही लोग होते हैं जब कोई दूसरा अपने बारे में बहुत ज्यादा बातें करता है, तो ये हम लोग होते हैं जो उसको कहते हैं यार ये कितना शोधा है, अपने बारे में बात करता रहता है, सेल्फ ऑब्सेस्ड है. So just remember, if it is based on facts, it is not bragging. You can always talk about your accomplishment. It's totally fine, perfectly fine, and you should actually. हमने ये भी सीख लिया है कि अपने बारे में बात करने के बहुत सारे benefits हैं. Maybe आपको next job में promotion मिल जाए, maybe आपको grade अच्छा मिल जाए, who knows. In the next thing, in the past you have felt comfortable sharing your achievements in the workplace. That's a question that you need to answer in the comment box. जो कि मैं अभी कुछ देर में पढ़ूंगी, and I'll try my best to answer your questions and to read all the comments if you are commenting. Okay. So there are follow-up exercises that you can do yourself. Remarkable Wednesday. You can make a group on Facebook or WhatsApp, wherever you want, with your friends or colleagues. And what you will do every Wednesday, you will share your achievements with all those people in the group, right? ये एक एक्सरसाइज है जो आपको अपने बारे में बात करने में कॉन्फिडेंस देगी. प्रैक्टिस एंड परफेक्ट. आप अपनी 2-3 प्रोफेशनल अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट्स जो वो हमेशा उसको आप प्रैक्टिस करें. प्रैक्टिस फ्रेजिंग एंड expressing 2-3 professional accomplishments with friends or colleagues or your manager. That's another exercise that you can do to build this self-promotion skill. Track your achievements. अपनी achievements का हमेशा log maintain करें. आप कौन से projects complete कर रहे हैं, कौन से assignments complete कर रहे हैं, किस तरह के grades ले रहे हैं. You need to track your achievements. And then act and view. Act and view की जब आप ये तीनों exercises complete कर लेंगे तो class रह जाती है act and review. Act and review में क्या होगा, आप इस point पर पहुंच जाएंगे जहां पर आप लोगों के साथ अपनी accomplishments को easily share कर सकते हैं और उसको improve भी कर सकते हैं. And then set a stretch goal. Use your self promotion skills to achieve a career goal you have set for yourself. And trust me, it's going to be very easy for you to achieve that goal. आपका 50% problem solve हो जाएगा. Lastly, I would like all of you to fill this survey. Quickly, can you please take a picture of this link? इस लिंक की पिक्चर ले लें, बिकॉज टाइम क्योंकि अब शॉर्ट है, तो आई विल नॉट वेट फॉर लॉन्ग. आप और हाँ, ये सोशल मीडिया के ऊपर भी शेयर हो जाएगा लिंक. प्लीज फीडबैक फॉर्म जरूर फिल कीजिएगा. एंड डू नॉट फॉरगेट माई फैसिलिटेटर ID. इट्स I151192. जब आप अपना फैसिलिटेटर फॉर्म खोलेंगे फिल करने के लिए सर्वे फॉर्म, तो आपसे फैसिलिटेटर ID पूछी जाएगी. आप इस स्लाइड का भी स्क्रीनशॉट ले सकते हैं. माय नेम इज इरम ज़हरा, IRUMZAHRA, and my facilitator ID is I151192. 151192. Please do not forget this facilitator ID. Thank you so much.
Okay, and with that, that concludes our Ayn Remarkable session. Thank you, Irum, for that session. It was lovely. And for everyone, I hope you learned something from it in terms of self-confidence and promoting yourself and getting through your fears in terms of imposter syndrome and really just enabling your potential. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, so now everyone, it's time for our next session. Our next session is going to be on women rights, harassment in the workplace, and laws in Pakistan. And our speaker for this will be Syeda Yamna Hasany. And Yamna is a person that has over 8 years of experience in the development sector. She is currently the manager business development at Akhtar Hamid Khan Resource Center, which is an NGO that works in the urban slums of Islamabad. She's also been affiliated with Radio Pakistan since 2010. She's been working for Planet 94 and FM 101 as a radio host, a voiceover artist, and a content writer. She is a fellow of the Legislative Fellowship Program for India and Pakistan, organized by the US Department of State. And she is also a recipient of the Australia Award Scholarship from 2017 to 2019, from which she pursued a master's program in public policy and governance from Australian National University, Canberra. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker who will be joining us in just a minute. Uh, to guide you uh, on women rights and harassment in the workplace and laws in Pakistan. Because as we know that increasingly the amount of women in the workplace are increasing day by day, and they've been excelling in so many fields, even in tech. Like I see a lot of my female colleagues that excel in places like content creation and graphic designing. So obviously there's a need to create a safe, enabling, and empowering work environment for women. And so, with this session, we're going to be learning about anti harassment laws and policies that can be implemented in workplaces to make them safer for women. So, our speaker has joined the session. Hello, Yamna. It's great to have you here.
Hello, hello. All right. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was on the phone talking to the host, Irum, and we were talking about slides. All right. Hi. And I'm looking at all the different messages. And Ershan is saying you'll have to share on your screen. Okay, Ershan, I will share the toolkit on my screen. Okay. The poor host, Ali Tariq, seems a little. Hi, Adi. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Can you? Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
can
All
hear
right. Good.
you.
All right, sorry, we're just settling in. Hi, everyone. My name is Yumna, and I work in the development sector. And today I wanted to talk to you about harassment and the workplace. And initially, when I was thinking about this topic, it was more related to women. But then I realized, well, we can't exclude men as well. Of course, they're part of society. And harassment is a topic that really is for everyone. So, before we talk about women rights and women laws in Pakistan, and in particular, I would like to talk about one particular law, which is Protection of Women Against Harassment in Workplace, which was an act that was passed in 2010. So it's been a long journey. It has been passed. However, we fully do not really understand it. In fact, I think many of us have not even read the act in itself. So we're going to read the act today. We're going to find out how we can implement it, what are the rules, how do you formulate, and how do you actually act upon the act. Yes, that's very funny if I say it. How do you act actually the act? How do you implement it and formalize it? But before I talk about that, let's just talk about harassment and really what do we think about it? Have we really understood it well? Do we think it exists? Do we think it does not exist? Well, for all the naysayers and doubters and skeptics, I have to tell you that harassment does exist and it exists in every form. It exists in really every country, in every society. There are different kinds of harassment. You have to understand what does this word really entail. There is discrimination. So I'm going to introduce another word. It's called discrimination. But what harassment means is that any communication, which is verbal or non-verbal, it could be physical communication, it could be non-verbal communication, that makes you feel bad. Now, when I say it makes you feel bad, let me explore and let's look deep down into it. It means that anything that makes you belittle yourself, if you have a low self-esteem, if you feel degraded, if you feel humiliated, if you feel abused emotionally or mentally or physically, all those words, that means you have been harassed. That is the syndrome of being harassed that encapsulates this whole idea that you felt threatened, you felt violated, you felt sad, you felt deprived, you felt demeaned, you were demoted. That is harassment. Now, the different kinds of harassment, there is racial discrimination. So there's racial harassment when you make fun of someone's appearance or how they look, how their eyes are, how their color of the hair and skin is. That's also harassment. There is harassment against religion. For example, if you do not respect anyone else's traditions or holidays or makes jokes about them, that is also harassment. Then there is, of course, the work that we want to talk about right now, and then in detail is gender harassment. When you say, oh, women are not supposed to do ABC kind of work, or women can't be pilots, or women can't fight the war, or they can't be good soldiers, or even with men, when you tend to say, oh, men can't cook, or men can't be good pastry chefs, or men can't be good barbers. So that is also another kind of harassment, which was gender harassment. And then there is race, there is gender there's sexual orientation. I'd like to point out that we have an act that is also about protecting the rights of transgenders. We'll talk about that in a while as well. So that is basically harassment. Any idea or any verbal, non-verbal communication that makes you feel unsafe and threatened. So after understanding what harassment is and the different kinds of harassment, the question is that if we know all this, why are people still being harassed? Now that's a question that we should be asking. Why is it that we are having so many complaints? Very recently, if you looked in the media, you have the motorway incident. If you read reports, and I would suggest that you read a document that is called the Pakistan Health and Demographic Survey of 2017 and 18, which talks about gender-based violence. And I have some figures in front of me, and according to this report, which is an authorized report published by the government, it says that gender-based violence in Pakistan, 32% was reported in Punjab, 52% in KB, 66% in FATA, 32% in Islamabad, 59% in Balochistan, and 18% in Sindh. And another report that you could refer to is the Safety Audit Report of Public Transport that took place in Lahore in 2017. And this report asked women commuters if they felt safe while traveling. And not so surprisingly, 90% of women said that they had been harassed on public transport in buses. 82% of women commuters said that they had been pinched and they had been groped, and they felt physically unsafe while walking and while crossing roads and basically just using public transport. Interestingly, Express Tribune, they did a survey, and the survey was for men. And they asked this question for men, that have you ever been assaulted and abused in your life? And astonishingly, there were 60% of men who said that at least once in their life of being in Pakistan, or being a Pakistani, they have felt threatened and they have been assaulted. So these numbers across the board tell you that men and women both feel harassed, and this is a situation that needs to be addressed. Now, coming back to the main question, why is there a culture of discrimination or harassment? Who are the people behind it? And where has this come from? And frankly, it has been building over years. There's another word that I'd like to introduce, and this is called patriarchy. Patriarchy means a whole system, structural barriers that do not allow women to progress, where you disallow the equality and equity. And because we want to first keep it, we want to really analyze it, and I want to have a conversation, hear your experiences as well, and do not want to exclude men and women, both of you. Okay, so I have a message. Can you share slides? Well, I don't have slides. I have a toolkit which I'll share with you. Okay, hold on. We are going live, but we are okay. How do I share the toolkit? Should I just send you a link, or should I just share my screen? Okay, I will figure this out, Ali. Just give me a second and let me just complete what I was about to say, and then we're going to come to the slides as well. Don't worry, we will share a toolkit with you, which I hope you can keep with yourself, and it can always be very useful. Now, coming back to our question, why is there a culture? Okay, let's talk about our culture, and I talk about our culture in general forms. There is a culture of silence in our country. There is a culture of indifference in our country. There is a culture of not taking action in our country. There is a culture of just pretending to be deaf and blind. Why? Because we're afraid to speak out. And sadly, it's an institutionalized system where people are said that you just put your head down, you obey the boss, you follow the rules, and you will be fine. However, we have not been following rules, and this is what's going on. So why are people afraid to speak out about these issues? Well, people are afraid that if you report, or if you intervene, or if you witness something, if you witness an incident and you report it, there's going to be a culture of shame. Everyone is going to point fingers at you. They will blame you. Yumna, ask questions, and okay, I will. Okay, fine, Ershian, I will ask questions, and yeah, okay, fine, got it. I'm going to ask you a few questions as well. And of course, we want to make it interactive. So I want the audience to know what they're thinking as well. And if you've ever feel harassed in your life in Pakistan, as a man, as a woman, as a transgender person, please do share your experiences right now. I want to hear your story, and I'll share my story with you as well. As I said, life is not perfect, and incidents really happen to all of us. We don't report it. That is the problem. As I said, that we are shrouded in a culture of silence and shame, and there's a lot of victim blaming as well. As you've seen in recent examples, if someone reports or makes a complaint, the first thing is that we tend to what we tend to do is that we tend to say that, oh, it's just a minor incident. So we don't take it seriously. We do not think about the consequences of uh, that person is experiencing, or we just degrade that whole experience, or I should say, belittle that experience. That, oh, it's not that important. It happened to someone else. We don't care. However, you need to realize that people who have been harassed and are suffering, whether they're suffering in silence or whether they've reported this, they are going through physical, psychological, and emotional distress. And let us talk about what happens in workplace when an incident happens to you and you're afraid that, oh my God, how can I tell my colleagues? How, and who do I tell, first of all? So you ask these questions yourself. And while you're not getting any help, what is happening? You lose sleep, you are dissatisfied, you're demotivated, you have panic attacks. You think about changing your job and you're thinking, like, oh, I should leave this office, or you're like, I should change this career, or maybe I made the wrong choice. I should have gone for job A rather than coming to job B. And you're like, oh my God, I should go back to academics because maybe I'm not fit to work in the real world, or am I not fit to work in the practical world? So these are things that a person who is experiencing harassment is actually saying to himself or herself. And another thing is, firstly, to realize what are the signs of harassment. And as I said, the signs of harassment are where you feel demoted, you feel belittled, humiliated, and you feel that you are not fit to work anymore, and you're psychologically and mentally distressed. And examples of harassment, right? Someone's asking me what are the examples of harassment. Sharing crude jokes or laughing, whistling, those are signs of harassment. If, let's say, I work in an office with men and I've gone to drink water in kitchen and suddenly men look at me and start whistling, that's harassment. It also happens in shops, by the way. As soon as women enter shops, the shopkeeper or the little helper boy, they start whistling or singing songs, and that's weird. So that are examples of harassment. If you are suddenly talking loudly and sharing crude jokes or making jokes that make other people uncomfortable, that is also harassment. Trying to touch someone, the good thing about corona is that we've been asked to social distance ourselves, and that is the best thing. Why? Because when you're talking to another person, you don't want to be in their face. You always have to maintain a respectable distance. And whether corona or no corona, that's I would suggest that please follow this habit. You do not need to stand or sit with a person so close that you are touching their elbows. You need to keep a safe distance. And physical contact, unwilling, non-consensual physical contact, that is also discrimination, physical discrimination. It's also called sexual discrimination. Now, we have to realize we have the power to speak. You have the power to speak. We have eyes, we have ears, and we need to do something about it because we live in the society and only we can make a difference. Another thing that you need to do is to know about your rights and act. And let's come to this act, which is the act passed in 2010. It is called the Protection of Women Against Harassment in Workplace, that was passed in 2010. And this is an act that is applicable in the whole of Pakistan. So it's not just a federal level or an Islamabad based act. No, it's applicable everywhere. So, what does this act do? Well, first of all, this act says that men and women need to feel empowered and safe in the workplace, especially women. And if there are any unannounced and if there are any advances or if there are any complaints, then they need to be solved. So we cannot silence complaints. We need to have a system. We need to encourage complaints and complainants to come forward. So for that, first step is that you read the act. What do? You go and download it. It is available on National Assembly of Pakistan. It's available on UN's website. It's also available on the National Commission of Status of Women's website, which is a National Commission on Status of Women, is a federal organization that works on the rights and policies for women. It talks about improving laws, so you can download this act. I mean, the first step is to actually read and download and understand what this act is about. Now, this act is applicable to all organizations, whether it's the civil society, whether it's private organizations, whether it's a hospital, it's a software house, it's a tech company, it's a shoe shop, it's a bakery, all sorts of a media news agency, the radio station. This act is applicable everywhere. And employers who fail to pass this act, and when I say pass this act, it means that you have not made it part of your HR system, you can complain about them and employers will be fined up to 1 lakh rupees. So this is what the Constitution of Pakistan is saying, that employers, it is their responsibility to tell their employees what this act is. So you download it, you share it with your colleagues, you inform your HR. And now let's also talk a little bit about the processes and procedures. Like, you have the act, now what do you do with it? Simple question. All right, so you have the act, you've shared it with your HR, and according to this act, it tells you a system of processing complaints. So every organization should ratify this act, and you need to set up, and this is technical, so you need to set up a committee. This committee should be made of 3 people, ideally, minimum 3 people, and one of them has to be a woman. And the people of this committee, they can be from 1 senior management, 1 middle level management, and 1 junior level management. So that's the composition. It's a very general composition, and you can change it. However, minimum 3 people, 1 has to be a woman. And this committee, it has to be, everyone should know who the people are in this committee, their names, their email IDs, they need to be shared. After this, there is a process. If there is a complaint, you need to bring it to the committee. And this is not a verbal complaint. It cannot be a WhatsApp complaint. It cannot be a telephone call. It has to be a recorded complaint. And there are structures and formats and templates available online. They're available on the National Commission of Status of Women. So you can follow that template as well. And logically, if you don't know what a template is, or if you have never made it, it's fine. I'll tell you right now. You need to write your name, you need to write the time of the incident, what was the incident, what was the complaint, who was involved, were there any observers, were there any witnesses? And let me tell you interestingly about this act, that even if there are no witnesses, you can still file this complaint. All right, so you file, okay, so let's talk about the process. You have the committee, we call it the Inquiry Committee, the IC, that's the word the act has. You have 3 people, and 1 has to be a woman, senior level, middle level, and junior level management. That's the composition. Now, once this committee receives a complaint, they have to notify the complainant and the perpetrator that they received a complaint, and within 3 days they need to say that yes, we have received a complaint, we acknowledge the receipt, and we're going to do something about it. And then in the next 7 days, so you have day 3 where they say to both parties, we received it. Then on day 7, which is, well, I should say after 7 days, so it's actually 10 days, day 10, they say that we have started progress and we are going to set a time and we're going to have a hearing. So this is the process, and in 30 days, so committee has 30 days to actually submit to the people. And when I say the people, the organization, the complainant, and the perpetrator, exactly the proceedings, which means that the committee has to, without any bias, investigate. They need to present the findings, and they need to make both parties, or if there were multiple parties, aware of the decision that they've taken. And in all fairness, both parties have a right to defend themselves, and both parties have the right to appeal against the decision as well. So before we talk about the appeal, what decisions can the inquiry committee make? The decisions can be regarding, and when we talk about workplace, it could be about demotion, that you were promoted and now we're taking those privileges away. It could be about dismissal, that you have dismissed straight away, or we're giving you notice period. It could be about taking away your privileges. If you have some perks that have been given by the organization, like a car or some benefits, that can be taken away as well. So the organization and the inquiry committee has all the rules, and also, yes, financial penalty that can also occur in this case. So this is the role of the act. and it's the role of the organizations to implement this act, and it is the role of the people and the employees to understand what this act is all about. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And if in your organization you don't have an inquiry committee, then it is your job to tell your HR, human resources, or your senior management, or talk it out in your Monday morning or Friday meetings, that we need to streamline and we need to institutionalize a proper system by which you have complaints, by which there's a process by which people can actually address complaints, redressal mechanism. That's really important. And as I said, even though this inquiry committee is related to cases against women in workplace, you can actually have a committee, a very general inquiry committee that deals with all sorts of issues across the board. So that is very important. Another key institute in Pakistan is the Ombudsman Office, the Wafaki Muftasib, as we call it in Urdu. And this is at the federal level and it is also at the provincial level. So each province has the Ombudsman. So now, if your organization doesn't have a process, you can go to the ombudsman and you can fill a complaint as well. So they are there to listen to your complaints. And the Wafaki Muftasib, or the head of the ombudsman, the head of the department, he has powers of the civil judge. So he can listen to you, he can accept your case. So there's a hearing, he will listen to you, he or she actually, they can listen to you and all parties and give a hearing, and they can punish as well. And let me tell you, the punishment. Okay. So what is the punishment? The punishment is that a person can be fined for 3 to 5 years, and a person can be imprisoned for 3 to 5 years, and there is a penalty as well, which is from 25,000 rupees to 1 lakh. So if there has been a case and the ombudsman finds you guilty, these are the two punishments that are there by law, that the ombudsman has the power has the power to really enforce this law. So these are some of the laws that I'm talking about. One is about gender harassment, or harassment of women against workplace, 2010, and the other key institution is the ombudsman. Now, there's another one that the government has introduced, and this is about electronic media. Now, again, WhatsApp, social media, and what are the complaints that people are facing? People are saying that we're getting unwanted phone calls, we are getting unwanted pictures, we are just getting information that we did not consent for, and our inboxes and WhatsApp messages are flooded with that. So for that, you can actually complain. And this is about your digital rights and how to protect yourself in this digital medium. And I believe we have a speaker here as well, I think today, who's going to talk about protecting yourself against in this digital changing, evolving environment. All right, so one thing that I would like to say is when you are trying to file your complaint, you need to preserve all evidence. And I know one thing is that we are not good in keeping records or maintaining a record. Either we are too guilty or we feel really ashamed. We're like, oh my God, what will people think if this information is leaked out? How will our family deal with us? What will our friends say? And also, you've lost your self-respect as well. That is true in this whole process. This is very traumatizing. So one thing is that do not delete evidence. You need to keep that evidence safe, because decisions are going to be made based on evidence, and that is very important that we hold on to these things, we save them in a file, and then we properly showcase them. And when I say properly showcase them, this means you have to write a proper report. So think of this as a research or investigation where everything has to be documented. You need to talk about the time, when did the incident happen, where did it happen. And remember, we're talking about workplaces, but if you are working in an offshore office, or let's say there was a meeting in a hotel and a stakeholder conference or a dialogue, and an incident happened and it's not in your office, you still can file a report, and that will still be acceptable, and the act, it covers this harassment as well. So that was from my side, and I know we have about 15 minutes left. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And I will share the toolkit as well. Ershian, can you tell me how can I share this toolkit? Can I? So one thing that I would like to share is a toolkit that has been made by UNDP with collaboration from the National Commission of Status of Women, with UNDP as well. And this whole toolkit tells you the process. It tells you about the various forms of discrimination, what are the signs, what are the symptoms, how do you act, how do you build that culture, how do you promote that open discussion, open dialogue without fear of repercussion. And then it talks about the process. So who should be in the inquiry committee, what is the process, what are the templates, how do you file a complaint against the ombudsman. And very interestingly here, I would like to point out that there's this one question, and it's a routine question. People say that, oh, what happens if the harasser is in the committee? Well, you have all rights to complain that this person should be removed from the committee. That is your right, and that is perfectly acceptable. There should be a screen button at the bottom of your StreamYard screen. Okay, so I want to share the toolkit with you. Okay, let's see. This should be okay. Okay. I apologize here. I have a share screen. Share screen is easiest, blah, blah. Okay, you know what? You can share the link as well. Okay, I will share the link as well. I think sharing the link is going to be much easier. So with that, I am going to conclude my topic. And if you have any questions, if you want to learn about how do you build a culture, if you want to learn about communication techniques, how do you encourage management at all different levels to speak about harassment, then you are more than welcome to ask me, and we can definitely have an interactive session as well. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I will share the link and post some comments as well. And Ali, if you have any questions, Ali, are you there? Hi, Ali. Oh, good.
Hi, Yamna. Hi.
Hi. Is there anything that you want to ask on behalf of the viewers or people who've commented? Because I can't read the comments because I was too busy talking to you guys. So if you want to give any feedback, if you have any questions generally, any issues that pertain to you, let me know.
Well, coming back to the topic that you were discussing, obviously, as we've seen recently, जो reports आ रही हैं, जो media stories आ रही हैं, harassment and rape cases with the motorway incident as well, how horrifying that was for all of us. Those are increasing in the country. Yet now, with after the motorway incident, there's a debate that has incited. There is a camp of people that are obviously advocating for capital punishment for these people who commit crimes of harassment or rape or these things that make women feel uncomfortable in any situation. So with that, how do you feel? I mean, do you think that there's a need to educate our youth as well and our general public about what constitutes as harassment, how to make women feel comfortable in these situations in the workplace or wherever they are? Or do you think punishment is the only solution in this regard?
No, see, we have to take all sides of this argument. So, of course, at one hand, we need to educate society and educate really everyone. And yes, we need to have some punitive action as well. So there has to be some punishment. Of course, there needs to be a standard. There needs to be an example. People have to see that if you do these despicable crimes, you will face consequences. So it has to go hand in hand. I completely agree that punishment should be there and it should be severe so that people are deterred. That's how society works. Law and order. You have rules, you disobey them, you're punished. That's how we work, and there is no anarchy. So education, very important. Let's talk. So rather than again saying that these things don't happen in Pakistan, they do happen in Pakistan. They're not that reported, and now they are being reported in the media. So suddenly everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Is it social media? Is it that women have found the courage to speak? But those incidents have always been there in society. So rather than just putting our head in the sand like an ostrich, we need to recognize that there are problems and address them progressively in a tolerant manner. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I think I also want to come back to the regard that for a lot of women, I think it's also difficult for them to report when things like harassment happen to them because, there's also a culture, they feel like that no one's going to listen to them, or victim blaming ke they're gonna suffer under that. So how do you think? And also now, obviously, thanks to because of the motorway protest, a lot of men have also come forward in support of this, that we need to have a better culture for women. So how do you think men in general can also help to make this place, to make these environments safer for women in general,
So
and to
first,
the culture of
yeah.
victim blaming?
So thing is that include men in the conversation, and I think women in their household should have conversations with the men in their family and say, hey, listen, have you ever been pinched or groped, or while you were walking, did anyone try to touch you? Please just ask this question, and then you will see all these answers, and you will have this conversation going on. Or just say that, oh, have you, just ask, I'm going to ask you, do you feel you've been, if you're crossing the road, do you think you feel unsafe, or do you think people stare at you? Yeah, okay,
Well,
we're going to
to
ask
be
you.
completely honest, as a man, no, no. I
Yeah,
mean,
see.
it's possible to go in a dark alleyway and feel completely safe, unlike most women in Pakistan, or actually
See,
all women in Pakistan.
so see, that's the conversation starter. That's it, where you say, "Oh, I want to listen to your story." See, this is what you do. You listen to stories and say, "Okay." So you said that no, you feel completely safe, and then you'll have lots of women who say that, you know what, it's unsafe. Like, I'm a grown up, but I still, if I want to go out for a walk, I still need to take my brother, and both of us are in our 30s now, and I'm like, why? And I've lived abroad as well, where it was so safe for me to just walk alone at any time of the night. And here in Pakistan, I'm back and I have to take someone with me. And I'm like, what is wrong? Like, where is my freedom? Or I just feel so, I don't feel empowered or capacitated at all. I'm an adult, for God's sake. And I still need to take someone with me. Or I have to really think, oh, how am I dressed? Or what time am I out? Or I should be very careful not to draw attention to myself.
Yeah,
Trust me.
I agree. I mean, I face that situation as well when the woman has to go out, for shopping or for an event, that there's a man in the house has to go with her as sort of a bodyguard of sorts, and that really
Exactly.
ridiculous, even for like grown women. It's But that really is the reality right now, and we really need to work to reduce this sort of culture in our country, so that women can really feel safe in the streets, because they deserve to feel safe the same way we do in the
So
streets.
all this is also a lot of, it's culture, patriarchy. It's this whole idea of controlling people, the whole idea that, oh, we are better than you. It's an anthropological study of how people think and behave. But in hindsight, and I would conclude by saying that educate people, educate yourself, talk about these issues, and know your rights. That's also important. We've talked about the issues, but do you know the laws in our country? Do you know what the Constitution is saying to protect you? So, yeah, educate, know the laws. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so yes, we're also running over time. So we're gonna then conclude your session formally. Thank you so much, Yamna, for this lovely session, and really, really informative, especially in today's circumstances. And it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. I will share the toolkit with you guys and share it with all the audiences. Sorry, I am technologically challenged. Couldn't find that button, but I will share it with you. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
completely fine.
Okay. Bye bye. So good luck, everyone. And yeah, thanks, guys. Good job, organizers. Bye bye. Leaving the studio.
Bye. Take care. Okay, so with that, we conclude our session on workplace harassment with Yamna. And now we're going to be going towards our next session with Ershian Anwar, who is currently an expert consumer product design at Jazz Cash. And he's going to be taking you towards making your LinkedIn profile and your CV that much better. Ershian has had extensive industrial experience. He's a mechatronics graduate from NUS with a master's in robotics and artificial intelligence, and he's mostly been providing IT solutions to foreign clients and working in many fields such as augmented reality and artificial intelligence. So, in this session, as I mentioned before, LinkedIn and CV, if you're working on building your professional profile, you know that these words always come to mind. Build your LinkedIn profile, get a good CV so that you can get an interview for that job you've been eyeing for a very long time. So now In this session, Ershian is going to be taking you over on how to make your LinkedIn profile and CV that much better, the things that you need, and the key elements that really make your CV and your LinkedIn profile stand out. And we have Ershian right here. Hello. Ershian,
Hi, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
All
Hello.
right.
Hello, it's
Hi,
great having
everyone.
you here.
So, Ali, I think one profile item that you missed, that I'm also the co-manager for GDG CLOUD Islamabad.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. Know each other so well. Well,
All right. So
yes,
let me take over the session. And just before I formally start my talk, let's go over the highlight video of what GDG Cloud has been up to for the previous year as well.
roll in the queue.
So, hi, back again. Thank you, everyone. Ali, let me start with my session now, I think.
Okay, then take it over, Russian.
Thank you, Ali. All right, so let me just share my slides, and here you go. So, hi everyone. My name is Ershian Anwar. I'm expert consumer product design right now in Jazz Cash. Before that, I've been working in many startups as well, leading teams, building teams, hiring teams. That's what I do. And then from those teams, we make amazing products. So let me just go over the slides. Now, even in the present time right now, we are in a corona crisis, right? So it's a pandemic, everybody's getting laid off. So my talk is especially going to be focused how you can actually build your professional profile so that whenever somebody sees you either on paper on your CV, or right now people prefer the LinkedIn, your profile should be so amazing that they are captivated by it and they want to hire you for their post right away based on your experience or how you exhibit yourself in your experience. So let me just begin. Right now, first, I will go through three parts in my talks. First will be on how to actually make a very good CV. Second, we will look at the LinkedIn profile and how to actually make a very impressive LinkedIn. And thirdly, I will go on just some basics of how to actually get positioned very well in different organizations, how you can leverage your network, and some very basic interview ethics. All right. So, oops. Oh, oops. Just a second. I think I ended my selection. All right. So, This is something that you will see on my LinkedIn as well. Perfection is finally attained not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away. So why you should have a resume, right? Uh, Whenever you will apply for a job, you will sort of have to present yourself. You can't present yourself physically, right? So you have to make sure that all the achievements, everything that you have done over the time is presented in a very neat and format. Now, there's a confusion that why you should use your CV and why you should use your resume, right? Before we got on to that, I request all the viewers that are live right now, you should send this stream link to your colleagues, to especially if you are a student, you will have to apply for internships. So my talk is vital for them. You can present it on the social media. Maybe, who knows, that because when you put your link over there, somebody might get a job, somebody might be, going through tough time during this pandemic, and this talk might really help them get a better job and a better, getting hired in a very respectable organization. All right. So this is a favor that you can do, not me, but others who want to get hired in a very reputable organization. All right. So first of all, let me touch upon why CV versus resume. Uh, Normally, what happens is that CV stands for curriculum vitae and resume stands for the shortness of things, right? So, where to use and when to use them? CVs are basically when people want sort of a long description of what you have done. CVs are not necessarily one pager. Resumes are one pager. So this is a very critical thing that you need to know, especially when you are applying for companies abroad. They may specify that either you should have a resume or a CV. So in CV, you can put each and every project in very detail, like what you have done, how many team members there were, what were your achievements, and how you actually managed to accomplish. Within the resume, you just need a one-liner for the project, that what the project was, what your role was in there, and how you managed it. All right. So again, I highly recommend you to put your questions there as well. I can see it live from YouTube and Facebook both. Any of the questions, I will try to address them live there and then. So if there is any confusion, just keep on commenting. All right. So why is a good resume important? I just highlighted to you earlier. This is your representative whenever you are applying to a professional organization, or for that any job, right? So you cannot be present there physically. You have to go there and uh, present yourself, right? So this piece of paper will be talking on your behalf, and you need to make sure that it is well trained and well equipped to make sure that your profile is represented as you want it to be. Now, let's go over what should be, the critical components within the CV or a resume. It should have a 6 to 8 second resume review time, right? So normally people get like around 200 to 300 resumes for a typical job post. They don't have the time to go over each and every aspect. Your resume or your CV should be eye-catching, and so they should be able to, put them in the selected lot. It should serve as a visual reminder that whenever you go for an interview, they see the resume again or they see the CV again. I will be using the term loosely between CV and resume. So whenever they see the resume again, they should, have a click in their mind that, oh, I've seen this before. Separate yourself from the crowd. Every resume cannot be the same. If yours stands out, it will definitely grab 2 to 3 seconds more. And lastly, fit in the right peg. I'm sure most of you have seen children games where you have to put the round circle, round peg in the round hole and the square peg in the square hole. So your CV should make sure that you get the right job as well. That is really important as well. So moving on, what to write? Basically, my strategy would be that if you want to update your CV or you want to write, the new one, make rough notes. Write down each and every achievement that you have done, be it very minor, or be it a major project. write it down. You can shortlist it, you can prioritize it later on. Get your rough notes ready. Whenever I update my CV, I try my best. I do have some rough notes before, and then I try to update them again. All right. So let's get down to the personal level details. There are few segments in the CV that you have to go through. First are your personal details, right? So when it comes to name, many people make this mistake. Your name should be small. Many people who have seen this video clip will remember. I won't play it because it will get flagged on YouTube. So the name should not be like this. I hope that those people who are looking have two or maximum three, alphabet letter names. But if you're gonna put Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Ahmed Khan, it's not gonna gel in well, especially in a professional environment. So you need to reduce it, and you need to make sure that you use only two words, and three if you are really, really, applying for marriage and you want to show your caste over there. All right. Contact. So it says a lot about you, how you write your contact details, where you are, which type of social media you use, and how you use it, right? So email, be very professional about it. You should not put the email that you usually make in your high school and your crush's password name is the password. So don't put that. When writing cell numbers, there's a prescribed format. Either you use +92 and then 3 digits and then 4 and 3, or 3 and 4, or you can just write 0300 and then put a hyphen or a space and then the rest of the digits. When it comes to address, this might cause some people bias in hiring you. For example, if I'm applying for a job, let's suppose in Canada, and I apply from Pakistani address, it might serve as a negative bias. So you need to make sure that whenever you're applying for a job, make sure that your address is a reflective of that job. For example, if you are applying for, let's suppose, an industrial plant in Khanewal, there would be understanding that you might be coming from a different cities. But if, let's suppose, you're applying for a job in Karachi, they might not even shortlist you based on that you're based in Islamabad, right? Socials, I think Facebook and Twitter are only required for those jobs that actually require a social media role. LinkedIn is perfect. If you are an artist or a programmer, make sure that your Behance profile or GitHub profile are highlighted over there. This is really essential for the recruiters so that they can actually see your accomplishments there and then. Maybe the HR might not be interested in your GitHub profile, but if you are getting hired for a technical post or maybe an artistic post or maybe even for social media posts. So for social media, you can put in like some of the pages that you admin, how you actually develop the following and those kind of things. So contact, always give them options. I might not ring up my mobile number. I might contact you by email. If I'm a recruiter, if I'm in a hurry, I might not say let's do the email. Let's just put in the let's call the guy up and call them over for the interview. So do give them options. You never know how the other person is thinking and how they are going to react to your contact details. All right. So let's come to the picture. This is very debatable topic. So we have a comment. Can we exchange our LinkedIn profiles? So I will get to that as well when we will address the LinkedIn part. So we will do an exercise over there. All right. Esunula, thank you very much for your positive comment as well. All right. So coming back to the picture, make sure it's not your high school picture, right? So make sure it's not like this. You need to have a very professional picture. All right, so make it very professional. I'm putting in the link, HTTPS photo feeler, so you can upload your photo and get them rated from other people as well. How is it looking? Is it professional? Is it casual? So make sure you have a very professional picture. One of the typical mistakes that Pakistani do is they put a shadi wala picture, right? With the stage in the background and everything. No, get a professional picture, right? Okay, so next, objective. Many people make this that they put objective over there. Okay, why I want this job, I'm a very good this and that. Everybody knows this is your objective, this is what you want to do, this is why you want to have your job, right? So I tend to avoid it. I don't even read it when I am in a hiring position. I just go straight forward the person has done and why they want to go for the organization. Professional summary, always put a little professional other than the objective. I would rather suggest you put a professional summary, like 1 or 2 year liner that what you have done. We will get to this in more detail, how you can write this. Then we come to the education part. My advice would be always to write the recent first, and then we go to the older one, university, then the college, just for the links, right? Whenever you write your college or university, you don't need to put in your achievements. You just put it so that if a recruiter is saying or anybody who's saying, they see that, oh, let's suppose he's from Edison or he's from Roots or he's from Punjab College, they automatically make an association with you, and they are more likely to recommend you. Coming to the GPA, it's a very questionable part. If you don't have it that high, don't put it there. They might ask you, then you can share. But even after 2 years or 3 years, GPA does not matter. it's only mattered in the first job or even the first internship. All right, thesis or FIP strongly suggested if you are a new, student just going out into the job market. Always put your thesis or your FIP over there. Um, there's a question that should you label your project separately or should you just put your FIP in the academic section? So it's totally up to how you want to do it and how you want to present your CV. And my suggestion would be that you put it with your academic achievements and then maybe reflect more details in your project section. All right, for those who even are in the third year of university and have done their internship, experience matters a lot. After your education, you can put in your experience. When you go into a senior position, let's suppose you have done your job for 3 or 4 years, then you write your experience up top and your academic profile underneath it. So this is where our talk sort of culminates into how you write your experience. This is a very good example that how you make a very simple, meaningless task into something that you want to reflect in a very grand way. Irum's talk before me was all about how you can actually reflect your achievements in a more positive, in a more constructive way. Again, my request to the audience: if you have any questions about your CVs or anything, just put it here, and I will reply to it. All right, so coming to this, how you present your experience, let's go over to the STAR techniques. There are some more techniques that are extension of these, the STR STAR technique as well, but you can look into it in your own time. I will just go over the basic one on which all of these techniques are based on. So first is your situation. Whenever you put your experience, you put like what was your role, what was the situation you were put in, and how you actually saw those. Then what were the tasks that you undertook? Let's suppose I was an event, I was put in a position to manage an event. I had to make sure that my audience was there, food was there, and the seating was there. These were my tasks. What I did, I contacted this many vendors, we arranged the seating, and this is how the event went on. And this is how we actually achieved X many number of people in our event. Everybody was satisfied with the food and they gave us positive reviews. So this is what I sort of did a STAR technique of a very event management kind of a role, right? So let's suppose if you talk about technology, right? So you can say I was actually given a position to administer a server. I made sure that I review all the alarms that the server was raising, and then I actually made sure that the performance of the server was enhanced, and as a result of this, our revenue was increased by 2x, or our complaint management was improved by X much amount. So we have a comment that somebody joined in late, and yes, this talk will be available on YouTube as well as on our page. You can review it anytime. Some points about ATS resume. Maimuna, can you just elaborate a bit what is your ATS resume so that I can give more detail? If it is something that you apply for abroad, I can even share my insight into that. All right. So this was the star technique. This is another example. Let's suppose organizing teams. For example, this is what I can go over as well. Let's suppose I was given a situation that I helped in drafting the policy of this team, had many talented this team, different from sales departments and marketing departments, marketing products and launching them, worked on XYZ product and helped them in generating. So this is where the action part, worked on the XYZ product, helped in generating sales by making a marketing plan, and then the results, organizing sales events, and was able to generate the results that move my company forward. So that's how you actually share the results, because the recruiters are not only interested in what your role was, but how you actually excelled in it. All right. So let's suppose the previous one was an example of how you will make a very mediocre statement. And now we have organized it according to the STAR technique. I was assigned as a CEO to design, market, and sell the XYZ product. Organize a multidisciplinary. This was the situation. Now these are the actions that these were some of the tasks that were associated to design and market and sell. What were the actions? Organized the multidisciplinary teams, designed market sales, collaborate effectively, drafted blah blah blah, and then the results. The results matter a lot. So always give your 40% to the result, 60% to your results, 30%, and then the rest to your how you were situated in that situation. Product was designed in 3 months, marketing plans drafted in parallel. So you can clearly see the difference between the previous one. If I put this in my resume versus how I will look if I put this in my resume. You can see the clear difference. This is what gets you from not shortlisted to shortlisted, and from shortlisted to an interview, and maybe from an interview to a job offer. This is the clear difference. All right. So just a bonus round. If you want to have a sort of look at your resume as well, you can post it. I will just share my email ID as well. So I'll just quickly go over the slides as well. So the skills, you should mention all of your skills. If you are well versed in programming, if you are well versed on any platform, let's suppose you're a Python developer, just make sure you have a skills tab underneath your CV and you list on as many as possible you can fit on your one page. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the layouts. Yeah, so merged bold headings versus side headings. There is a common layout. I couldn't show it here, but you have got your headings on one side and then the rest of the things here. This is one way, or you can put your heading over here and then the layout. So whatever format you follow, make sure it's consistent all the way through your CV, whichever it is. I personally don't like the side headings one because you waste a lot of space. I use the main headings one. Differential uniformity, make sure that all of your CV follows a theme, but the highlighted points are different, so that when the recruitment just scans your CV and goes over there, his eyes do go over the main points first. Columns are your friend. Make as many columns as you want. So, for example, 3 would be a really ideal one. So, for example, you have your academic achievements, you have got your date, you have got your university, all organized in a form of a column. So you can go 2/3, 1/3. It's all up to you. Categorize where there's excessive. So just like I told with the skills one, you can actually have a skills tab underneath. For example, I can put in my GDG experience as a volunteer experience. So whenever you feel that say something not being fit in in the usual pattern, just make a separate category. Do not put in any tables. This is the number one mistakes our people use. They put everything in a form of a table. Do not put in. This just shows poor organizing skills and lack of imaginative creativity. Preferably a single font. If you want to sort of make sure that things stand out, but make sure they do follow a theme. This serif versus sans serif font. We have a question from the vicinity. Will we be seeing a sample? I won't go over the sample. It's totally up to you. I will be sharing my contact details so you can send your CV for review over there. All right. So utilize as much space as possible. One of the critique that I've gotten over my CV resume is that it's very cramped, but I wanted to make sure I get everything in. but try to utilize as much. You have a one A4 paper, try to use as much space as possible. All right, so colors. Prepare your CV for a black and white print. If you want to add colors, they do enhance the feel of it, but do not make it into a unicorn poop. That means do not use, just like, again, it's a stereotypical thing. I don't want to go there, but normally when you are in grade 4, 5, you use a lot of colors in each and every topic. Don't do that. Please don't use that. Okay. Keep the color scheme readable and easy on eyes. Maximum, if you want to go, use blue, dark blue. Do not go into bright colors, right? Those are preferred, just like I highlighted. Other considerations, file name. Do not name your file My Resume 2020. Please put your own name over there. Okay? Whenever you send your resume, preferably put your name, either your, some quality that you want or some designation that you want, and then maybe a year number or a date. This makes it very easy for the recruiters to search as well. If there are like 20 resumes, my resume, my CV, CV number 2, so that gets confusing for the recruiter as well. Page size, make sure it's A4, set to A4, because when you're gonna have it formatted to letter and then you're gonna print it, it's gonna shrink. It's gonna do all sort of active links. Make sure that the links that you post are active. Just keep checking them. Um, Now we moved on to the LinkedIn part. You have made a very good CV. You have got your rough notes ready. Now let's go over to the LinkedIn. And please share a CV sample. My request to everybody who is listening, please do not be a लकीर का फकीर. आप अपना CV खुद डिजाइन कर सकते हैं, कोई इतनी टेंशन वाली बात नहीं है. एक लेआउट ना लें और उसके ऊपर अपनी चीजें ना छापें. Invest some time into it. This is going to be your ambassador to a company. Just spend some time over it. आप लोगों को दिखाएं कि यार ये मैंने बनाया है, आप इसका मुझे रिव्यू दे दें, लेकिन प्लीज डू नॉट यूज generic layouts. Okay, so as I was suggesting, if you want to volunteer yourself, you can always share your resume on my email ID, and I will send you a critique over there, hopefully if I'm not too busy. But I try my best to share a very detailed critique over whoever is sending me your resume. Even I send my resume over to people. Every third opinion on your CV, you might take it positively, you might take it negatively, you might use it, but always make sure that you do give other people opinion a chance. Maybe you might get some positive review. I'm just sharing my email ID in the comments, so you can just email your CV. Just make sure you put it in your subject that you attended my talk and you wanted me to review your CV. All right. So with this, again, this one, I go over to my LinkedIn, and we will just have a look at the LinkedIn profile, how we are going to do with that. So just give me a minute to share my screen. And all right. So I hope you can see my LinkedIn profile right now. It's public as well. So if you can just post in your comments, if you can see my LinkedIn profile, I will continue from here. How much time do we have? Okay, so let's start with my LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn is a very powerful tool when it comes to hiring. Make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to the mark whenever you want to apply for a job. So let me just zoom in, and I will take you over some of the components that you really need to put in. First of all, edit your public profile and URL. Make sure your URL, just like if I put in highlight over here, it's linkedin.com/in/Ershian Anwar. So this makes it very easy to just put in your name and make sure that the recruiter or anybody who can see just hits your profile. 1, 2, make sure that your cover photo and your photo is very professional. What marks is as a professional photo, you can just go over to the internet and just like I said in my previous talk as well, make sure it's not your high school picture or shadi stage in the background. Make sure it's very professional looking. Um, I did not smile that much, but you can put in a more smiling photo if you like. Do not show your teeth in that smile, but just a casual smile. The cover photo that explains who you are, who you want to be. I'm a product designer, so I like my product to be very minimal and make sure that I, reflect that philosophy. So that, then we come over to your name here, and then after your name, you have your title line. This is very important because this shows up whenever you comment on your LinkedIn, onto any post, anywhere people want to see you. This is the short line that they see after your name, that who you are. You can just put in student. You just need to showcase your skills over here. That's why I just put in that I'm a product manager, Jazz, ex-entrepreneur. I worked in IoT and cloud. Most people even put that right now actively looking for a job. You can do that as well, so that whenever they see your profile, they can actually see that you are looking for a job. Then your companies, these are populated automatically. Some of the contact info that you can see over here. Just a second. If it will just go over to the page. Yeah. So here you can just put in your website, personal websites, previous company websites, your phone number, your email ID, and even your birthday if you want. All right. So we come about to the next section. This is the about one. Make sure that whatever you have done in your life, you put, this is the summary. This is what is visible on your profile as soon as somebody comes over here. So make sure that this is very, very good. Work on it, get critique, get review from people that how it should be. You can go over through mine, you can go over through some other LinkedIn profile just to absorb on how you can actually make, what are the things that you want to highlight and those kind of things. So you can put in your featured. I haven't put in my featured work because I don't want anything over here. But let's suppose if you are an artist, you're somebody from the media, you can put in some of the links over here that you really want everybody to see. Then this is a dashboard. This shows how many search appearances you have been and who has viewed your profile. I will go over the paid version of LinkedIn as well, that what advantages it has. Then you come to your experience. Make sure that everything that you write in your CV is reflected over here as well. Here you can go into a lot more detail than your resume, because resume is your one pager. One of the strategies that I can recommend is that you fill in your LinkedIn first and then use those points in your resume as well, so that that is reflected. One of the tools that LinkedIn does provide is that you can export your profile into a resume as well. As you can see, my current post is coming up over here. I can put in as volunteer as well, volunteer work. And then over down, you can even put in some of your links that you have, some of the works that you have done, some of the slides that you want to present, maybe a document that actually highlights your achievements. Now we come down after experiences. You have got your education. Make sure your university is there and you tag your college over there as well. This makes sure that when you search for a job, that your profile is matched with those people who are from your university in that organization as well. I will talk about how to actually leverage that in there as well. Then there are licenses and certifications that you can put in. These are some of the LinkedIn one. If you are, let's suppose a certified developer, you can put this as well. Lastly, you can put in your skills. This is really important because whenever you apply for a job, these skills are what LinkedIn matches, and this is what is shown to the recruiter as well. Last but not least, recommendations that you can gather from your jobs, your managers, your peers. I've got even one from my the consumer of my product. So whatever you can put in. And lastly, some of the interests that you can put in so that people are actually viewing your profile. Okay, so coming back to how you can actually use your LinkedIn profile to actually gather, make sure that whatever job you apply for, that you can, do it fully. So just some of the tips that I'm going to share with you in the very end. Make sure that whenever you apply for a job on LinkedIn or even anywhere else, make sure that all of the people who are from your university, you reach out to them and just drop them a message that I'm applying for this and this post. There are sometimes internal recommendation systems in place in organization, especially bigger corporates, that an internal recommendation might get you the interview that a simple, dropping of resume or LinkedIn profile might not. ठीक है, आप अपने रिज्यूमे के साथ साथ लोगों को भी कॉन्टैक्ट करें. Secondly, आप ये कर सकते हैं कि whenever you start applying for your jobs, just get a free trial of 30 days for LinkedIn. What that does is कि आपको हर जॉब के साथ दिखाता है कि आपकी प्रोफाइल के साथ वो जॉब कितनी मैच करती है और बाकी जो लोग उस जॉब के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, how skilled they are and where you stand amongst them. So that is really critical. So with this, I would like to conclude my talk. If there are any comments or any suggestions, just let me know. We can actually go over any of the CV that you send. I've just shared my LinkedIn profile with you as well. You can just drop me a message over there. Have a look at different LinkedIn profile and make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date when you are applying for any job. All right. So with this, I would like to conclude and add Ali to the stream back as well. Hi there, Ali.
Hi, Ershian.
So we have a comment as well. Let me just highlight. When you connect with people, is it necessary to drop them a message for them to know that you're connected or connected? I would prefer that if you drop them a message, especially if you're connected with a third person or through any organization, it's always preferred because normally people just ignore the comment request. All right. So Ali, do you have any questions from your side that you want to put in? Any views or opinions?
No, I mean, overall, yes. As you said, हर रोज ही होता है that you have to make a CV to apply for Filano,
Yeah.
bolster your LinkedIn profile for this and that. So it's very important in that regard. And especially, I just want to ask in that regard, as considering आजकल, with the digital age that's going on in the pandemic, how do you think LinkedIn, making your LinkedIn profile that much better is going to appeal to recruiters? For people who are looking for internships.
Within Pakistan, LinkedIn is underestimated. Whenever you make sure that you update your LinkedIn, it gives you two things. One, whenever a recruiter will see your CV, they will see your CV, but sometimes what happens is that people prefer to go over to the LinkedIn to make sure that your detailed, work is professional life is highlighted over there. One. Two, LinkedIn gives you a sort of a professional social media platform, right? It's a professional social media. So you can use that to actually venture out and see different opportunities, even connect with professionals. You never know how your interaction with someone might land you a job. One very good example that I always give is my startup, just like Facebook, started from a Facebook comment, right? I just commented on one of my seniors' profile that the idea that he was pitching is never gonna work. That was in 2013, and in 2014 we were business partners.
Wow. Wow, it's amazing how social media can connect people like that.
Exactly.
It's very interesting. And also, overall, I also wanted to ask, and this is a question I get from people who are new to building their CVs, their resumes, and their LinkedIn profiles, that it's not necessary कि अगर एक बंदा एक job के लिए apply कर रहा है, तो every single achievement he has is related to that very job or designation. He could have a very diverse portfolio. So how do you think that people with diverse portfolio should handle a CV when they're applying for a specific position?
So that is a challenge that I also faced as well, because my work in my entrepreneurial ventures have been really diverse, from making teams, making products, making business processes. So when I wanted to go and switch to a corporate experience, one of the challenges that I also faced was how to actually align what I have done over the period of 10 years and actually see and go towards a job market, or rather a job, description. So how do I match my skill with that job description? This is something that you have to realize that, again, yes, some of the skills will be pertinent to that job and some of them will not be. So you need to make sure that you decide and ignore those that are not matching. For example, if I am, applying for a desk job, I wouldn't necessarily write down that I am a fastest 100-meter runner in my province. That might not work well, or it might be just unnecessary,
It would seem
right?
irrelevant in that context.
Yeah. So you need to make a very informed decision with respect to that. So we do have one comment. Here you go. As a developer, would a GitHub profile be more appealing to recruiters or LinkedIn? Both. LinkedIn would give you sort of a professional outlook, like how you actually are within your job, and your GitHub profile will actually highlight your skill. That what did you actually make?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you
Yeah.
link them together, for example, GitHub is sort of a way कि जो आपका जो developer contributions है, आप उनको एक overarching
Yes.
portfolio बना के you can put
And
them in.
and let me also highlight one other point, that when you have a sort of you can say a volunteer experience or an open source experience, you are always preferred within an organization. When you're making a CV, is it good to put your internship experience? Definitely, if you are just new to the job space, do put in your internship experience. And if you have a good job experience of less than, exactly, so you really need to put in. What else are you going to put in, right? So really, whatever job experience that you have in the current post, you should definitely highlight as much as possible.
Yes, as you mentioned before, whether you think your achievement is small or it's really large, like a project, you should mention it along with what it contributed in your professional career,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you were assigned, and what it contributed, what you learned from it overall.
Can you repeat? Just
Well, I was basically saying that whenever you're highlighting any achievement or experience that you've had, it's not important कि आप बस उस experience को बताओ. You also need to explain what tasks you had, what responsibilities
yes.
you had, how those helped your professional career
Yes,
overall.
that is really critical. All right. One last shout out that I want to give out. The office space that we are using right now is with Mr. Asher. Asher is the CEO of Easy Geezer, and I would let Asher define what his product is and how he's doing it. Hello everyone, my name is Asher and I am very glad to host Ershian and his team for GDG today, for
Hello,
DevFest
Rachel.
2020
Great
today.
to have you here.
Likewise, so I can't actually hear you. Just headphones. Just on them with you. No,
You guys can
no.
speak. Or
Right. So we're really grateful to use his office space for actually organizing the event. The whole team is over here as well. Ali is joining remotely. He's managing remotely, but most of the GDG team is over here. So what we're doing over here is IoT is a great buzzword, but we are actually trying to make a difference using IoT in the energy consumption and energy mix of Pakistan. So in Pakistan, we've got a really huge problem of gas geysers guzzling up a huge amount of gas every year and often wasting a lot of gas. There are a
we've
few
all.
more here and there available to solve some problems, but not wholeheartedly. So we dived into design thinking and we really found out what the real problems are and how we can alleviate them. So we came up with Easy Geyser, which is a one solution fix to all of your geyser and all the money it burns related problems at your home. After installation, your geyser becomes 100% automated. It takes care of everything by itself. You just have to let it know about your schedule. And the only thing it needs next is having gas. If there is no gas, which is another problem in Pakistan, it lets you know there isn't any. So would you like me to reschedule and reschedule itself and you are easy to go. So that's what we are doing over here. We are in product launch cycle right now. We are taking pre-orders and we are gearing up for delivery in mid-November. So once again, thank you so much, Ershian, for letting me shout out, and yes, I'm glad to give you my office space for this. Thank you, thank
So
you.
much for highlighting your initiative, Easy Geese. It's really convenient for a lot of people. And I also
Yeah.
love the name, it's really catchy.
Thank you so much, Ali. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. So, just like with every YouTube content, we have a sponsor. All
Yes,
right.
all the live stream ingredients have been checked.
Yes. So, Ali, over to you. You can go over to the next session. I will be dropping out. Thank you, everyone, for attending my talk, and hope to see you soon again.
Okay, thank you, Ershian. Well, now in a few minutes, we're going to be starting our next session. So, our next session is going to be about the equality of opportunity in tech. Now, most of the sessions that we've had today have been about very diverse topics such as women rights, self promotion, your LinkedIn profile. And now, today, we're going to talk about the fact that even today, especially in the tech community in Pakistan, there's always a lack of opportunity for female leadership, for female job opportunities. And so the purpose of this session is going to be to highlight steps that can be taken to bring about a more meaningful shift in these statistics when it comes to inclusivity and diversity. Because it's important that in any sort of workspace, you have a diversity when it comes to gender, when it comes to opinions, when it comes to ethnicities or classes of people, so that it results in a better organization overall. So our speaker for this session is going to be Yamna Rehman. She is an electronics and computer engineering master's graduate majoring in data science, and she's currently working as a business analyst at S&P Global. Yamna, welcome to DevFest 2020. We can't hear you, Yamna. No. Okay, so Yamna has some technical issues regarding the audio, so we'll be having her back in a while. So Yamna has extensive experience. Had over 5 years of working experience within the tech industry, and she's been working in Pakistan and Turkey in many different areas, segments of the tech industry. So now we're going to be playing a highlight video for you, in which we'll be highlighting what GDG Cloud Islamabad is all about. So if anyone could cue the video. Well, hello, Yamna. Well, can we hear
Can you
you
hear
now?
me now?
Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
can. Yay!
We're all,
Just
we're all
finally.
we're all set up for your session. So,
That's good. That's amazing.
could you give a further overview of what your session's going to be about as you begin?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
I
I'll
do really resonate with the
be.
topic, and I do think it's very important.
Should I share my screen and go on?
Yeah. You can proceed with your session.
Okay, great. I'll be sharing my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet. It should be popping up after a while. Mm, any second now, we'll be starting with the session. Mm, I still can't see your screen.
Okay. Can you
Never
now?
mind. Never mind. Now I can see your screen.
Just give me
Yeah. Everyone,
okay. It
could
just
you
takes a
also
second,
comment if
right?
you can share the screen? That would be.
And it's on full screen or it's on full screen or
It's full screen.
can you
It's full.
see? Great. Okay. So we are good here. Um Yeah. So I'm Yumna, and I have been given a brief description. Ali has already introduced me, and now we'll swiftly move on to our topic of discussion, and that would be equality of opportunity in tech. But before we move on to equality of opportunity in tech, I would definitely like to talk more about equality of opportunity in general that uh, s- especially women have. I'll keep it the equality of opportunity question to more gender based, even though I know that equality of opportunity is not only a sexist question, it's an ableist question, it's an ageist question, it's a racist question, and we find discriminations in all forms and shapes. So, but to keep but it would be really hard to discuss all of those in detail. So I'll just keep it to the gender question. So when it comes to the gender question, very interestingly, 81% of men, of the total population of men, are currently participating in active labor force, whereas only 24% of the overall population of women is currently participating in labor force in Pakistan. These numbers are make my heart they are disappointing, but they are uh, to keep things in perspective, in 1999, only 13% of the overall population of women was actively participating in labor force. And this kind of goes on to show the lack of opportunity in general that we have in the labor force, like where women are still not a part. They do not have a career orientation as of yet. A good number, a majority of women don't. Even if they are educated or not, even then they do not take part in the active labor force. And that is pretty interesting because this number just does not include the women who are your typical office going women, or like uh, mm, who do professional jobs. This number also includes women who are the part of uh, who are your housemaids, who are working informally, who are working in your farms, who are working, who are doing mazduri, who are like all sorts of, who are in your municipality, like all sorts of carriers and work is included in this active labor force number, which is 24% now. And that reminds me that currently around 41 million women are doing unpaid work. 41 million is a great number for the amount of women to not have to be doing work which they are not being paid for, and this number is mostly comprised of agricultural workforce. 73% of agriculture workforce is women, and they are unpaid contributing members. They are unpaid contributing family members, to be more precise. Uh, uh, these women are could be underage as well. These women are married as well. These women are sisters, mothers, whoever of the small farm owners. These women are still contributing there, and they are raised to do that. uh, वहीं पे उन्होंने सारे जो काम हैं खेत के वो उसमें एक्टिव लेबर फोर्स में वो वहाँ शामिल हैं। और ये बात मुझे बहुत ये नंबर ने मुझे बहुत सरप्राइज किया था, एंड दिस सरप्राइज मी बिकॉज हम अक्सर जब बात करते हैं वुमेन लेबर फोर्स की, तो हमारे दिमाग में वी थिंक ऑफ मोर नज़ाकत पे जो बेस्ड जॉब्स होती हैं। मैंने एज इंजीनियर्स लाइक वुमेन आर टोल्ड के भाई आप सिविल इंजीनियरिंग या इस तरह की इंजीनियरिंग ना करें जिसके अंदर आपको बाहर धूप में खड़ा होना पड़े, आपको बाहर जाना पड़े, क्योंकि वुमेन आर कंसिडर्ड फिजिकली वीक. But then there are these women who are uh, who are a sheer example of uh, how women are and a part of जो आपकी मजदूर तबका है उसके अंदर भी वुमेन कितना इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है और कितनी उनकी एग्जिस्टेंस को निगलेक्ट कर दिया जाता है. ये औरतें अपने वजन के से आधे से ज्यादा बोझ उठा के कितनी दूर दूर चलती हैं, कहाँ कहाँ से काम या कितनी धूप में और सारा सब कुछ. दे आर डूइंग एन इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ वर्क फिजिकली एज वेल. सो और दूसरी बात, खैर ये तो जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप्स पे बात हो गई कि जो कंसिडर किया जाता है कि वुमेन वुडंट बी फिजिकली very physically very labor oriented. मगर जब हम बात करते हैं अनपेड लेबर की, तो हमारा एक तबका ऐसा भी है जो जिसको कोई ऑफ्स नहीं मिलते, जिसको कोई जिसके वर्किंग आवर्स लिमिटेड नहीं है, जिसके जिसका लेबर जो है वो बहुत हद तक अननोटिस्ड जाता है और थैंकलेस. And and yet they are contributing in your economy. We think that they are not, but they are. All of this work, any work that is done, it does contribute to your economy in one way or the other, because these are this is work. And we call these women unpaid domestic जो आपका लेबर है. ये आपकी घर की खवातीन है, ये आपकी at all times जो खवातीन जो घर पे जितना भी काम कर रही होती हैं, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ भी तो कल्चर है कि मोस्टली वुमेन आर डूइंग द हाउस वर्क. सो ये आपका अनपेड डोमेस्टिक लेबर कहलाता है. और ये बहुत अनफॉर्चुनेट है कि आज भी जो है वो डोमेस्टिक वर्क और चाइल्ड बेयरिंग के साथ और चाइल्ड रेयरिंग के साथ डोमेस्टिक वर्क भी जो है वो एक औरत की जिम्मेदारी समझा जाता है. तो even if a woman is working, हम ये देखते हैं कि like even though she is working outside 8 hours at the home as well, the entire responsibility is hers. And बहुत कम अब कुछ trend thankfully शुरू हुआ है जहाँ पे men are contributing, and पहले भी होता था, but numbers are a bit increasing where men are realizing that their wives or sisters are working equally outside, so they need to contribute a bit as well. at home. But again, the culture is abhi tak, even a few, even an year back, I was listening to this talk somewhere, and it was a corporate event talk, and somebody was describing her struggles, and she was an accomplished woman, and she was describing her struggles, and she was talking about how she had been working very hard all her life, because she had expectations at her sasral. She had expectations with her family, where she would be like, getting up early in the day and doing all her household responsibilities, finishing them up, and then going to work, and again coming back. And very she told it that it was her accomplishment that she was only able to work all of this on like 3 hours or 4 hours sleep. And in that moment it hit me so bad, and I felt that it should not be so. uh, it should not be considered an accomplishment that a woman is being forced to work eight, 18 to 20 hours with 3 to 4 hours sleep on a daily basis, and this should not be the price she should be paying for her accomplishments. And that itself is a barrier for a lot of women, because अक्सर खवातीन they do not enter career oriented jobs because उनको ये होता है कि यार बच्चों के साथ नहीं कर पाएंगे, या फिर उनको ये होता है कि like once we are married like नहीं हो पाएगा, because there are expectations at the family end that would stop us, like अगर वहां पे हम fail कर गए तो ये बड़ा failure होगा, और ये as a society है हमारा failure है, rather than an accomplishment of a single woman. ये एज अ सोसाइटी हमारा फेलियर बन जाता है कि हम इतनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं बराबर की प्रोवाइड कर पा रहे। जबकि घर का काम इतना कोई अगर सब लोग बराबर बराबर करें, एक बंदा ना कर रहा हो, सब लोग बराबर बराबर कंट्रीब्यूट करें, तो ये इतना कोई मुश्किल काम नहीं होता। लाइक अगर इक्वली सब लोग उसमें कुछ ना कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करें, रिगार्डलेस ऑफ देयर जेंडर एंड एज एंड व्हाट देयर पोजीशन इज इन द फैमिली, तो काम आराम से संभल सकता है। एंड दिस इज अ मॉडल दैट हैज बीन फॉलोइंग, दैट इज हैपनिंग इन द वेस्ट एज वेल for a long time. And then I think like in a long way back, when the patriarchy had not been such a severe part of our society, men were still working at home before as well. In 1400 years ago, we have a lot of examples from there, from religious perspective as well, if you do believe in that particular religion. So for me, like it's interesting that we do make and make sure that this domestic labor is not like one person oriented, and women have more chances to excel at both ends. And it's not considered just they're it's not, they don't have to work at two places full time. So that being said, I was discussing all of this last year in somewhere, and it was a British Council event, and we were discussing it, and there were these students in the audience, and since we have been discussing harassment so much today, and this kid just comes up and he's saying about all the other things, and then he goes on and says that uh, like माँ तरबियत अच्छी नहीं करती तो like बच्चे rapist बन जाते हैं. And considering this year, like this was this year hadn't happened back then, but still this was a very alarming thing to hear from a young person's mouth. And thankfully, before I could respond, there was this elderly man with a long beard, and like very well educated, and he stood up and he told him that he explained his point of view to the kid, and like he very well explained like the fallacy in his argument and the thought process, where he had not challenged the things that were taught to him. And that person also gave like excellent examples. He was a professor himself, and so was his wife, and he gave excellent examples of how they had been equally participating in the household activities. And that was amazing to hear. Like such examples just like are so so optimistic to hear of. Moving on to the next part, there have been a lot of studies regarding a woman who women in leadership positions who have been excelling. And talking about them, we there is a study that found out that female CFOs are more profitable, and they generated an excess profit of 1.8 trillion over the study horizon. And this happened because female executives, in comparison to their male peers, they um, they drove more value appreciation. They better defended profitability moats, and they delivered excess risk adjusted returns for their firms. Uh, but this mostly happened because these women were the best of the best. Uh, uh, to reach a position of leadership for women is harder. The opportunity lack does not only happen at the place of entering the workforce, where like we have barriers at home, but it also happens once you have entered the workforce. Because once you have entered the workforce, you are competing with a large pool, and there is an unconscious bias which generally leads to women being considered they wouldn't be uh, as they wouldn't be able to perform that well, or they would be perceived to be not performing as well. So when they're perceived to be not performing that well, that is also a hindrance for anybody to place them in a position of leadership, because they think that, oh, if we will uh, even though this person is capable, a lot of other people are not considering them as capable, and that's why there would be a gap in in the way they can be more authoritative. Similarly, so these women who did end up at the leadership positions were actually women who were competing with a very large pool, and they were like not just best, because a lot of CEOs, they are very good at their work, but these women had extra challenges which they overcame, and hence they were the best of the best. And that's when they did eventually gain these leadership positions, the stakes were higher for them, and they probably worked harder, and they had to compete in a more unadvantageous way. So that was something very interesting to see in studies as well. Another thing is that female mentors are very important. So as long as you have some mentorship, it becomes much easier for you to gain any particular uh, mm, place that you want to achieve to. If you have seen people who are doing that stuff, it becomes easier for you. About 83% of women think that it is important to see women in STEM on screen and around them. Uh, and Reshma Sojani, who is the CEO of Girls Who Code It, said that you can't be what you cannot see. And that is very true, that female mentorship is so important for women, that once, even growing up, I didn't see a lot of female engineers, and that I did find it as a hindrance, because every time I had to look up to a man, and uh, I didn't have a lot of even in university a lot of female engineers, because the women in general in tech are so few that it becomes harder to find a woman in challenging positions and whom you can keep as a role model. So, moving on to uh, another something interesting is the fact that let me move on to the new slide. Actually, not. Uh, I don't think I can hear your questions, or like if I can see your comments, but I would definitely want to know, what do you think like a few years ago, like what was the composition of women in computing, and what is the composition now in comparison to men. I would like you to write your answers in the comments. I would display my answer as well, but I would definitely want you to uh, mention your comments. Like, what would you think would the numbers be? Hmm. So I'll be waiting for your comments. And but meanwhile, since you have your comments already pasted, you would be able to see the difference between your comments and the real answer, as to uh, what really the numbers are. So, ta-da! Women were are around 19% now, and they were 37% in 1984. Uh, that is uh, that is something huge in my opinion. That is something very interesting, because how did that happen? Like, in my imagination, we were progressing. We were somehow, moving towards a more gender neutral um, place in computing. But when I see the numbers, we have actually kind of declined, and not just declined a little, but like we have almost, we are half of what in composition of what we were before. So there is a this strange mystery is tied back to even more mysterious and even more interesting facts. And when we I'll definitely love to go into more details about it, like what happened and how the story unfolded. So in when we look at at the past events in the computing history, women were a large part of what how computer sciences were being observed in that time. If you look at it, this is an advert from the past, and it says that 20 years ago, a girl could be a secretary, a school teacher, maybe a librarian, a social worker, or a nurse. If into the professions and compete with men, usually working harder and longer to earn less pay for the same job. Now have come the big dazzling computers and a whole new kind of work for women: programming. um, Telling the miracle machines what to do and what to do it, anything from predicting the weather to sending out billing notices from the local department store. So this is an advert ask recruiting women. At that time, the job that women were doing itself, they were called computers as well. So it was very interesting that that computing was considered as a soft work, as a clerical work at that time, something which was very iterative, something that was not very physical, something which was very mathematical. And at that time, it was considered a woman's job, because at that time men were more interested into building the computer hardware, as it had not been as it was still developing. And that was considered to be the real challenging job, not the mathematical part or computing part or programming part, which was at that time considered women's job. And that's what happened as well. Women excelled in computing and programming at that time. We always hear of ENIAC, electronical numerical integrator and computer, which was the first electronic and programmable computer, and the six primary programmers were all women. uh, McNulty, Betty Jennings, Betty Snyder, Marlene Westcott, Fran Biles, and Ruth Lichterman. They programmed ENIAC programs, but very unfortunately, when the uh, computer was launched, they were not even invited to the party. They were completely sidelined, and it's very hard to dig their names in history. And only with time and, like, we were able to find that, oh, women were doing such things. Same is the case for Hedy Lamar. Hedy Lamar, I think you all must have heard about her, and Hedy Lamar has had amazing achievements in terms of Wi-Fi. She and it took her 100 years to get into National Inventors Hall of Fame. She was a famous actor as well, and which is why probably she was just seen as a pretty face, unfortunately. And even though she is why we have Wi-Fi, honestly, but unfortunately we don't even hear her name. So what happened then? What happened from 1984 to later? So after the 1960s, the software that had been dominated by women evolved into modern software, and the importance of womankind had decreased. The gender disparity and the lack of women in computing from the late 20th century onward has been examined, and several factors have seemed to emerge. What these factors are: suddenly in 1984, when a personal computer started coming in, computer programming became more prestigious, and men started getting into computer programming more, and that's when uh, women started becoming sidelined. Then there was active gender discrimination for women as well, where a woman would not be taken into a job because she was a woman, and she would be sidelined even if she was extremely good. Uh, a Women who were being considered like that you should not be doing it, so they were not entering the profession as well, and the women who were in the profession as already, even they were being discriminated against. And then there was like a branding for boys, like all the adverts that you see from 1984, they show you as like boys playing games on computers or whatever, even little boys, right? So, and always whenever a computer would be bought, it would be put in a boys room. So women were suddenly distanced from this technological advancement, and they didn't even have access, let alone an opportunity to develop skills. And now suddenly computer programming was suddenly a man's thing to do, and hence women started having a confidence shake when it came to programming, and they started distancing themselves. So yeah, um, and that would be the end of my talk. I still would like to talk a little about other things, but I would definitely like Ali to see if he has any questions to ask, or if there were any comments that he would like to deliver to me. And I think that would be. And last but not the least, I would definitely like another woman in tech, which is my mom. She's a master's in computer science as well in my talk.
That's really sweet. Well, hello
Hi,
again,
Ali.
Yamna. So
Hi.
asking in regards, I think the statistics that you put forward, that the amount of women that are in the tech landscape has decreased since the old times, that's really, really surprising for me, considering, how much we talk about
Yeah.
gender equality these days, and that's the reality. Like something.
Yeah. And how much scope there is, right? And how many corporates are working into bringing more women in, and despite all the efforts, still we see a decline. It's very
Yeah, it's really
disappointing.
interesting considering a lot of Silicon Valley companies, the big tech companies, if you look deep into the footnotes for these companies like Google, even Google,
Hmm.
Microsoft, a lot of the founding members of these companies were women, people who were instrumental in making these companies into what they were today. like Abhi, I think the CEO of YouTube as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. Yeah, but she was instrumental in bringing YouTube and bringing it as the platform that it is. In fact, I was reading in an article
Yeah.
recently that she was the one who convinced Google to buy YouTube, and we all know where YouTube is right now. It's a really big for Google, like
Yeah.
putting in so much ad revenue. And it's really that where you see that if we include more women in the workspace, you could have even more great ideas like this even in Pakistan.
It's just that it needs more, like Iram was saying as well, like women also lack that self branding. Even I do, like all of us like struggle with like branding ourselves, and that also becomes a huge factor in terms of us going forward, or like self promotion. Like it becomes really hard for us to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people, they face anxieties, they face a lot of insecurities. And as Iram
Yeah.
was talking about earlier, imposter syndrome and things like that, and people just making you feel like you shouldn't be too
Yeah, it's
braggadocious about
so real.
movements that can really hurt you.
Yeah, and honestly, I would love to talk about like maybe like one day we'll have like enough to talk about like all the other factors that are so discriminating within not just tech, like general opportunities which we lack just because somebody is of a certain class, somebody is of a certain race, somebody is like of suffers from a certain mental health illnesses, or anything, there is just the scope is so much in terms of the discriminations that happen within an industry.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of factors that play into this, discrimination and inequality that's happened between the two genders. Well, with that, we'll formally conclude your session, Hamna. Thank you so much for being here with us for this session.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. It was nice being here.
Okay, then, with that, we will be proceeding to our next and our final session on. Next session is going to be on saving yourself from harassment in the digital era, or another name that we call for it, cyber harassment. Basically, what this session is going to be going through is that we all use social media every day: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even LinkedIn, as we discussed earlier. And it's a very common thing that's found often that a woman who uses social media is harassed, unfortunately, with messages, messages that make her feel uncomfortable, or make her feel unwelcome. And this constitutes cyber harassment. When you make a woman feel uncomfortable in an online space or a cyberspace, then that constitutes cyber harassment. So in this session, we're going to be going through some tips with which you can aid yourself in situations of cyber harassment, and even other people who go through things like cyber harassment. So our speaker for this session is going to be Hafsa Mushtaq. She is a freelancer and she also works at White Solutions Private Limited. She is a computer science graduate and she's now also before I forget to mention, unlike Ershian, she's also a communication lead right here at GDG CLOUD Islamabad. And she will be presenting this session. Welcome, Hafsa. Hafsa, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Hello, Hafsa. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Okay. So thank you, Ali, for inviting me and giving me such a great introduction. Let us start. So everyone can hear me, right? Could you please
Yeah, yeah.
comment?
Everyone who's
Yes.
listening to us, on YouTube and Facebook, if you could comment on whether you can hear Hafsa very clearly.
Yeah, so let's start. I
Proceed
think
with your
we
session.
can hear me. Okay.
And we can see your screen now. Perfect.
Okay, so let us start. Specifically, आज तो हम harassment के बारे में बात करेंगे, लेकिन I would like to take input from your side as well. आप लोगों ने fully interactive रहना है तो फिर ही ये session बहुत अच्छे से गुजर सकता है, because it has some kind of interactive game as well, and it also has all the discussions related to your side. कि अगर आप लोग सोचें कि अगर आप लोग एक ऐसी लाइफ गुजार रहे हैं जो टोटली डिजिटल है, राइट? सो वी कैन फेस एनी काइंड ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन प्रॉब्लम थ्रू दैट। उनमें से एक प्रॉब्लम हैरासमेंट की है। सो दैट्स अ सीरियस इशू। बट सेकेंडली अगर हम इस चीज़ के बारे में ये भी सोचें कि प्रॉब्ली द थिंग इज कि हैरासमेंट हम लोग खुद प्रमोट करते हैं, तो ये किस तरह से पॉसिबल है? वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट टुडे। सो first, talking about myself, as Ali introduced me before, but still I'm going to tell that I'm a former defensive cybersecurity analyst at Security Experts Private Limited. Secondly, I have been worked there as an internship, as an intern as well. Secondly, right now I am a communication lead at GDG CLOUD Islamabad and doing as a freelancer work and an online tutor as well at White Solutions. Specifically, working online, I have so many things which I have covered up till now. Like I have communicated with a lot of people. I have communicated with different kind of clients as well, which may be of different nature. So अब आपने अगर इस चीज के बारे में सोचे ना कि दूसरे लोग डिफरेंट नेचर के हैं, दूसरे लोग डिफरेंट बिहेवियर से बात करते हैं, so that means there can be some kind of communication problem as well. ठीक है? अब ऑनलाइन हरासमेंट के बारे में बात करते हैं। अगर आप लोग सोचें कि आप किसी से कांटेक्ट में बात करें, प्रॉब्ली इट मे बी योर फ्रेंड एज वेल, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि आपको अनकंफर्टेबल फील कब होगा? जस्ट टेल मी इन योर कमेंट्स। So, well, let us say that it is the act of repeated and severe targeting of an individual. ठीक है कि किसी तरह का भी harmful behavior हो जो है कि एक individual face करे through any kind of behavior, या फिर जिस तरह कह सकते हैं जो even एक ऐसे करके देखना भी जो है ना वो harassment में भी आ सकता है, because this makes the other person feel uncomfortable, right? So there may be some kind of different tactics, like it may be like hateful speech. आपने देखा होगा, बहुत नोट किया होगा, आजकल आम है पोस्ट, यूट्यूब देख लें, फेसबुक देख लें, लोग किस तरह से किसी की भी वीडियो हो या कोई भी वीडियो हो, आप उस पर ऑनलाइन हरासमेंट किस तरह से आप प्रमोट करते हैं जस्ट बाय मूविंग सम काइंड ऑफ हेटफुल स्पीच, राइट? कोई कोई गलत कमेंट कर देना या फिर किसी तरह की कोई भी ऐसी बात कर देना जो दूसरे बंदे को अनकंफर्टेबल फील करवाए, तो वो जो है वो हेटफुल स्पीच में आ जाता है। दिस में कैन इंक्लूड रॉन्ग मीम्स, दिस में इंक्लूड सम काइंड ऑफ इंसल्ट्स, दिस में आल्सो इंक्लूड सम काइंड ऑफ स्लर्स एज वेल। आगे चलते हैं थ्रेड्स के ऊपर। बहुत सुना होगा आप लोगों ने कि थ्रेड्स जो हैं वो डिफरेंट तरह के आते हैं, बहुत बहुत तरह के लोग फेस करते हैं कि भाई अगर तुमने स्पेसिफिकली वुमेन, ठीक है, अगर कोई लड़की है और उसकी कोई पिक्चर्स सपोज आउट हो गई है, ठीक है, तो ये भी है कि पॉसिबली ऐसा हो सकता है कि कोई ना कोई पिक्चर आउट हो जाए और फिर उसके बाद कहते हैं कि हम आपको जो है इस तरह से इमोशनली ब्लैकमेल कर रहे हैं, या फिर कोई ऐसी बात करें जो दूसरे बंदे को जो है ना इट कैन मेक देम फील लाइक स्ट्रेसफुल, और ऐसा लग सकता है कि जिस तरह दे आर थ्रेटेंड इनफ, जो बाहर भी ना निकल सके इवन। तो दिस सेशन इज प्रॉब्ली फॉर वुमेन जो आप भी मुझे सुन भी रही होंगी, कि वाकई में ऐसा पॉसिबल है कि आप इन टैक्टिक्स को हैंडल भी कर सकते हैं। Just like other other tactics. Doxing tactic is also here. Doxing tactic इस तरह का होता है ना कि जिस तरह अगर सपोज करें आपके कोई भी आपकी आईडी कार्ड है, ठीक है, उसकी कॉपी ले ली जाती है या प्रॉब्ली कोई भी आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन है जो आउट हो जाती है, ठीक है, तो उससे क्या होता है कि आपकी जब इंफॉर्मेशन आउट होने लग जाए और फिर आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन मिसयूज हो, दैट इन्वॉल्व्स इन द एक्शन ऑफ डॉक्सिंग। अगर आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो गलत तौर पे इस्तेमाल हो रही हो, वो पोस्ट हो जाए किसी भी वेबसाइट पे, किसी ऐसी जगह पे जो वल्नरेबल हो, या फिर आप जिससे आप थ्रेटन हो सकते हो, वो भी इसी harassment tactics में आता है। Moving on to the message boxing, that is one of the most important thing or the most common thing जो लड़कियां फेस करती हैं throughout. I can open up my फोन और मैं आपको दिखा सकती हूँ कि मेरी मैसेज रिक्वेस्ट कितनी ज्यादा भरी हुई है, जस्ट बिकॉज दिस इज नोन एज द मैसेज बॉक्सिंग कि भाई आप फुली जिस तरह जो है ना फ्लड कर दें किसी के भी मैसेजेस को या किसी के भी मैसेज अकाउंट को और बता दें कि भाई इफ समथिंग लाइक कोई भी गलत 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 बातें भी हो सकती है या फिर कोई ऐसी बात जिससे फील हो के लाइक yeah, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I should talk to my mom or I should talk to my dad as well, or like other like that. तो इसका तरीका ये होता है कि स्पेसिफिकली वुमेन, मैं आप लोगों को यही बात आपको बार बार कहूंगी और आप प्लीज ये स्ट्रीम जो है ना शेयर भी कर सकते हैं अपनी फ्रेंड्स जो गर्ल्स हैं या उनके साथ कोई भी हो, उनके साथ ये बात लाजमी शेयर करें कि हाउ टू टैकल विद दिस टैक्टिक इज आप लोग फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कोई भी ट्रस्टेबल बंदा ढूंढें, नॉट द पर्सन टू whom we cannot trust, ट्रस्टेबल पर्सन जो आपकी हर तरह की सिक्योरिटी को जो है ना मतलब कि इट फील्स लाइक दे फील प्रायोरिटी टू गिव यू सिक्योरिटी। अगर आपको वो सिक्योरिटी देने के लिए तैयार हैं, दैट मीन्स लाइक this may be your husband, this may be the person who is at your home, probably your sister, your mother, whatever. आप उनसे बात करें और उनको इस बारे में बताएं ताकि they could control the social media usage of yours, ठीक है। इसी तरह आगे नॉन कंसेंशुअल इंटीमेट भी हो सकता है और जिसमें आपकी जो पिक्चर्स हैं उनके गलत जो है वो उनके ऊपर गलत बात लिख के उसको आगे शेयर कर दिया जाए, प्रॉब्ली इन डीप वेब और डार्क वेब, ये दोनों में बहुत ज्यादा ये चीज कॉमन है आजकल कि आप लोग की जो आम पिक्चर्स जो फेसबुक पे भी लगी हो उसमें कोई ना कोई जो है ना फोटोशॉप करके उसको अपलोड कर दिया जाता है just to promote pornography. फिर इसके अलावा yeah, the same thing that happens to almost every third girl in Pakistan, that is the fake accounts. फेक अकाउंट्स तब बनते हैं जब प्रॉब्ली दूसरे बंदे से आप रिवेंज लेना जा रहे हो, आप देखें भी हम इसके रिवेंजफुल अटैक हम इस तरह से करेंगे कि किसी का कोई फेक अकाउंट बना के और उसके अंदर कोई गलत पोस्टिंग कर दी, जब आप वो अजीब अजीब पोस्टिंग करके किसी अब रिसेंटली दिस हैपेंड टू वन ऑफ माय रिलेटिव्स एज वेल कि उनकी आईडी जो है वो हैक कर ली गई या फिर और एक और आईडी बना ली गई उन्हीं के नाम पे फेक आईडी, एंड सेकेंडली दे पोस्टेड सच बैड कॉन्टेक्ट जो शेयर भी करने के काबिल नहीं था, एंड आई डोंट नो हाउ दैट पर्सन शेयर्ड दैट। वेल ये तो अब इतनी चीज जो थी ये तो सारी थ्योरेटिकल चीजें हो गई, अब हम आते हैं इंटरैक्टिव गेम की तरफ जो मैं आप लोगों से पूछना चाहूंगी। आप लोगों ने जो है ना जिस समय मैं इस तरह हाथ खड़ा करूंगी ना, यू जस्ट हैव टू बी लाइक, आप लोगों ने कमेंट सेक्शन में बताते रहना है। इफ इट्स अ यस तो इसका मतलब मैं ये समझूंगी कि आप लोगों का हाथ खड़ा है, इफ इट्स अ नो दैट मीन्स दिस इज द राइट थिंग। Well, how many people here are using a 16-character long password for their account security? Is it so? Are you going up? Tell me in the comment section, please. Okay, I'm waiting for that. Well, the case is, इसका एक privacy tip है कि the longer the passwords or passphrase are there, the better you stand. You must get yourself safe. ठीक है कि अगर आप लोगों का पासवर्ड लॉन्ग है इट्स बहुत कम चांसेस हैं हैकर के कि वो आपके जो जो भी अकाउंट को हैक करना चाह रहे हैं वो बहुत मुश्किल से हैक करे, राइट? Okay, moving on to the next question. How many of you answered the security questions with real information? जिस तरह के आप security questions instead of the passwords पूछे जाते हैं कि मुझे ये बताएं कि आपकी अम्मा की मेड का नाम क्या है? What do you say? कि आप उसकी security information क्या real देंगे या फिर fake देंगे? Well, मैं तो फेक दूंगी डेफिनेटली, बिकॉज कि इस तरह हो सकता है कि सिक्योरिटी क्वेश्चंस अगर कोई बंदा जो आपको बहुत अच्छे से जानता हो, अगर आपकी सारी इवन घर की मेड का नाम भी जानता हो, तब आप क्या करेंगे? दैट मीन्स के उसमें फिर क्या तरीका है कि आप लोग फॉल्स इन्फॉर्मेशन यूज करें एंड डू वन थिंग, हैव अ पेपर, राइट इट डाउन कि आपने वो फॉल्स इन्फॉर्मेशन यूज की है, and so that and so that we can go for the rest things. Okay. Have you ever signed up through Google, Facebook accounts on any third-party apps or hosts? Almost everyone. That's that's from my side because I have signed up. और मैंने इसके लिए क्या किया, या बहुत कन्वीनियंट होती है ये चीजें कि भाई आप बगैर कोई अकाउंट बनाए हुए आप डायरेक्ट साइन अप कर दो गूगल के थ्रू, डायरेक्ट साइन अप कर दो फेसबुक के थ्रू, सो दैट आई थिंक दैट इज कन्वीनियंट, बट सिर्फ उस केस में जब आपकी वो जो वेबसाइट है या कोई भी ऐप है जिस पे आप रन कर रहे हो ये बात, वो सही है या नहीं, वो वल्नरेबल तो नहीं है, वी हैव टू चेक दैट, उसका होस्ट जो है वो सिक्योर है कि नहीं, वी हैव टू चेक दैट एज वेल. Are you a master password person? No, I'm not. Well, different people, I know कि जो भी जो देख रहे हैं ना उनमें से कोई 3-4 तो पक्के होंगे मास्टर पासवर्ड पर्सन. असल में मास्टर पासवर्ड पर्सन का क्या मतलब होता है? या ओके, मास्टर पासवर्ड पर्सन का क्या मतलब होता है कि एक ही पासवर्ड आपने सारे अकाउंट्स को दिया हुआ है, यानी कि जो भी अकाउंट आप अप्लाई करते हो उसके आगे उसका पासवर्ड भी आप वही रखते हो, जो आपने जो फेसबुक पे रखा हुआ है, जो जीमेल पे रखा हुआ है, उसके लिए भी आप वही रखते हो. तो उसके लिए आपको क्या करना चाहिए? यू शुड हैव अ पासवर्ड मैनेजर. आई एम गोइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस यू टू दिस दीज सॉफ्टवेयर्स, दैट इज डैशइन, LastPass और आइडेंटिटी पासवर्ड मैनेजर. ये 3 वन ऑफ द बेस्ट पासवर्ड मैनेजर्स हैं जो आप यूज कर सकते हैं टू सेव वन मास्टर पासवर्ड. और फिर उसके बाद क्या होता है कि आप जो भी अकाउंट लॉग इन करते हैं वो उसके लिए एक यूनिक पासवर्ड क्रिएट करते हैं. And you just need to remember that master password that you have remembered that already. Okay. How many of you are applying 2FA, two-factor authentication, or any idea of SIM jacking? Well, let me tell you, for my 2 accounts, this is my answer for my other 2 accounts. Why? Because for my first 2 accounts, I haven't applied two-factor authentication. The reason is कि मुझे उस पे ओरिजिनल सिम कार्ड देना पड़ रहा था, और ओरिजिनल नंबर देने से आप जितना अवॉइड कर सकते हैं उतना अच्छा है. यूज गूगल वॉइस. People search for it and use Google Voice, please. Okay. So more saving points are like keep your softwares and apps updated. Most of the time there may be security changes, there may be security encryption methods applied to it. तो आपने जो अपनी सॉफ्टवेयर और एप्स जो हैं वो हमेशा अपडेटेड रखनी है. ठीक है, वही बात जो मैंने अभी आपको बताई कि आपने ओरिजिनल सिम कार्ड का नंबर कभी भी यूज नहीं करना फॉर वेब एप्स. ठीक है. सेकेंडली, यू हैव टू यूज एंड don't ever open the links which are unauthenticating for you. ठीक है, कोई भी ऐसी लिंक हो जो प्रॉब्ली आप लोगों की शायद नजर में ना हो, कि आपको ऐसा लगता हो कि ये लिंक जो है वो सस्पिशियस लग गई है, नेवर ओपन दैट. ऑलवेज ओके, डू वन थिंग, इंस्टॉल अ वायरस टोटल ऐप. ठीक है, वायरस टोटल ऐप इंस्टॉल करें प्लीज. और इंस्टॉल करते ही साथ आप लोगों ने जो भी कोई लिंक आपको कोई भेजता है ना, जस्ट ओपन अप द ऐप. लिटरली इट्स वेरी इन्वायरमेंट फ्रेंडली. ठीक है, आप वो ऐप खोलें और उस पे लिंक जो है वो अप्लाई करते हैं. ठीक है, और फिर देख लें कि अगर उसमें कोई वल्नरेबल चीज होगी तो वो फौरन आपको बता देगा कि इफ इट्स वल्नरेबल और नॉट. एंड लास्टली, स्ट्रेंथन योर होम नेटवर्क. वाईफाई है तो वाईफाई का पासवर्ड स्ट्रॉन्ग रखना है, बिकॉज थ्रू वाईफाई इफ अ पर्सन हैक्स योर वाईफाई, दैट मीन्स जो भी डिवाइसेस कनेक्टेड है ना वाईफाई के थ्रू, तो दे ऑल आर वल्नरेबल टू दैम. ओके, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट स्लाइड्स जिस पे ही डिस्कशन आएगी वो है कि व्हाट कैन बी द रीजन ऑफ harassment. The reasons of harassment would be like there may be private and public information sharing. If I say that कि भाई प्राइवेट या पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन है, मैंने अपने अकाउंट पे शेयर की है, ठीक है. मैंने जब अकाउंट पे अपने शेयर की तो ये हुआ कि वो ट्विटर पे भी अपलोड हो गई और मेरा ट्विटर का अकाउंट पब्लिक है. मैंने अपने प्राइवेट अकाउंट पे शेयर की और व्हाट हैपेंस कि मैंने वो पिक्चर जो है वो मेरे ट्विटर के अकाउंट पे भी हो गई जो पब्लिक है. व्हाट डज दैट मीन्स कि आपने दो दो मेन चीजें यानी कि दो अकाउंट्स की जो है वो आपने आपस की उनकी सेटिंग्स जो है वो डिस्ट्रॉय कर दी. हाउ? अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन को पब्लिकली और प्राइवेटली शेयर करके. द थिंग इज फॉर दिस केस आप क्या कर सकते हैं, आप अपने अकाउंट्स जो हैं वो प्राइवेट अलग रखें और पब्लिक अलग रखें, ठीक है. फिर उसके बाद वुमेन्स आर स्पेशली टारगेट. वी ऑल नो दैट कि वुमेन जो है वो सॉफ्ट टारगेट होती हैं. प्रॉब्ली द गर्ल्स विच आर टीनेजर्स, वो नई नई सोशल मीडिया पे आती हैं. पीपल यूज टू target them through any kind of harassments, like कि भाई मेरी तुम्हारी पिक्चर्स मेरे पास हैं, या फिर probably I know your phone number, I will spread it all in your university या फिर in your college whatever. ठीक है. Probably it can also be used for revenging. ठीक है कि अगर किसी बंदे ने आपसे रिवेंज लेना है या किसी बंदी ने आपसे रिवेंज लेना है, harassments तब भी अगर हो सकती है. या फिर प्रॉब्ली आपस में कोई दोस्त बातचीत कर रहे हैं और देखें कि हम एक शरारत करते हैं, अगले बंदे को कोई फेक अकाउंट से हरास करते हैं जस्ट फॉर फन. Literally, this can be one of the main reason of harassment as well. So people don't trust anybody instead of your family members. Lastly, if something happens, what to do if something happens? Always take screenshots. Always have some kind of screen recording जो आपको लगता हो कि हाँ भी सस्पिशियस है, ठीक है. फिर उसके बाद बहुत एक्टिव लिंक जो है मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर रही हूँ डिजिटल राइट्स फाउंडेशन की. दे हैवंट स्पॉन्सर्ड मी प्लीज. उन्होंने सिर्फ मुझे उनके जो पेजेस है मैं फॉलो करती हूँ एंड लिटरली दे आर one of the most active organization जो harassment cases को handle कर रही है in Pakistan. And for preparing yourself more, जहाँ तक मैंने ये कंटेंट जहाँ से लिया और बहुत सारे कंटेंट्स जो है मैंने डिफरेंट जगहों से लिए, लेकिन बहुत बेस्ट कंटेंट मुझे कहाँ से मिला? ऑनलाइन हरेसमेंट फील्ड मैनुअल से. यू कैन सर्च दैट थ्रू द वेबसाइट एज वेल, और आप लोग देख भी सकते हैं. आप अगर कहते हैं तो मैं आप लोगों के साथ जो है ना ये स्लाइड्स भी शेयर कर देती हूँ ऑन माय फेसबुक चैनल एज वेल. तो आप लोग वहां से देख भी सकते हैं, क्योंकि मैंने इसमें बहुत सारी बातें बताई हुई, जैसे पासवर्ड मैनेजर्स के बारे में बताया मैंने, डिजिटल राइट्स फाउंडेशन का बताया. और अगर आप अपनी हरासमेंट टिप्स और कवर अप करना चाहते हैं, बिकॉज एज वी हैव वेरी लेस टाइम, तो हम वहां से भी और फर्दर पता कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. अगर आप लोग मेरे से कोई कांटेक्ट करना चाहते हैं, स्पेसिफिकली कोई केस डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं, हियर इज माय ईमेल. आई एम जस्ट शेयरिंग अप my comment section. You can see that right away. Okay. तो आप लोग मेरे से कोई भी केस डिस्कस करना चाहें, यू कैन जस्ट email me on my official email, और फिर मैं उससे आपसे डिस्कस कर लूँगी. Well, let's move on to the comment section and further discussion. It's not working. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, discussions are always appreciated to conduct. Yes, so people, please tell me in comment section and do ask questions if there are any. Well, let me check the comment section as well. Yes, definitely. You should use Google generated passwords as well. Google Voice or Google generated passwords, they are one of the best things जो आप use कर सकते हैं और अपनी identity जहाँ तक hide करना चाहें वहाँ तक hide कर सकते हैं. Why do antiviruses report false positives even after they are flagged by users? This happens in free antiviruses definitely because it happens. Actually, ये question है, ये question मेरे से बहुत लोग पूछते हैं. लेकिन the thing is कि अगर आप paid antivirus use करें ना, तो literally they will not bother you for this. They will be very environment friendly, literally. Let me do one thing. Let me share the slides on the Facebook channel, and you can just check them out because everything has been displayed in my slides. Well, the link of the software, which software? I have told about many of the softwares. Isn't basic password of my Wi-Fi is strong? What? Like, okay, let me tell you. Password किसी तरह का भी हो, that should be 16 characters or more than 16 characters long. Okay? फिर secondly ये बात आती है कि जब 16 character long होना तो इतना hacker के पास जो है ना इतना दिमाग भी नहीं होगा ना वो इतना time लगाएगा कि वो 16 character long password को identify कर सके. So he'll find the other way. तो passwords जो होते हैं वो सबसे पहला gateway होते हैं towards any of the account. On which we can open an unknown link. It's virus total. Let me write it on virus total. You can find that on Play Store. Play Store पे Android app भी है और iOS app भी probably exist करती होगी. I use Android, that's why I'm telling you that. Yeah. So thank you for everything, and let's finish the session. Thank you.
Hello, Hafsa. Okay, so okay, so with that, our last session of the day has finished on cyber harassment with Hafsa Mushtaq. We would like to thank everyone who joined us for these sessions today, and we really hope you learned something from them on the various topics that were discussed today. And I hope that you enjoyed yourself and it was a worthwhile use of your time. So with that, we'll be commencing the events for today. And here's a highlight video of what GDG CLOUD Islamabad is all about. Thank you, everyone.